into that, and the next pit stop they'll be looking at brake pad wear, checking temperatures. You already see the carbon dust coming off in the pit stop there from the Mustang as the McLaren exits.
Another point there, the two leading cars in this class have been nose to tail pretty much throughout this stint, Inception Racing and Proton competition, but 7% difference in their available energy. 7% for the McLaren, 14% for the Mustang. So it's that twinkle toes Ben Parker working his magic.
Oh, he's got to work his magic because he was relieved of €2,500 for not going to the start drivers briefing earlier on. For the pits, Bruce Johanny, I think, has got door-related news for 99 Porsche. Bruce?
Yeah, unfortunately for the ones that follow the WEC, if you remember Spa, there was drama with the Porsche 1999 door, and unfortunately it's the same problem that happened again. I just spoke to Julian and Lower, and the poor boy is just head down on his desk and he can't believe it. But yeah, unfortunately it's the door again.
Bruce, thank you very much.
Oh, it's the worst thing, isn't it? I've been there and done that, where you've got problems with the car so early on in the race, and they'll fix it and they'll get the car back out there, and you're driving your heart out, and it just feels like...
How do you stay motivated?
Exactly. It's so hard to stay motivated. You got to take things from it. So you see a spin around of the car 47 there.
That's Cool Racing's car. The car running last after that early problem for Matt Bell.
Naveen Rao on the wheel.
Yep, that's up at Dunlop.
This is how it happened. I'm expecting just like many. Yeah, well, that's actually on the braking in towards the corner. So it's a tailwind into that corner today. Has been all week actually, but it's a stronger tailwind today than we've had. And as the tyres start to age, actually is he just on a pit stop actually? Could have been on cold tyres. Or was that a flying lap?
It wasn't an outlap, so he's done at least one. But Naveen Rao, the man that runs an artificial intelligence company, finding himself in strife at turns 2 and 3, into the pit lane has come Spike the Dragon.
Indeed it has, and has been leading this race from the start. The 99 car, by the way, is back out, but it was 4 minutes more the second stop to fix that goal, so another lap lost to that, and it is just that frustrating, almost pointless problem that has no impact on performance whatsoever. It's a mechanical problem.
I mean, we've got all this technology, very clever cars, very clever brains, and it's a door latch of all things.
And it's the same door latch that both of the Jotas have got. All three of the Works Penske Porsches have got. It's a Porsche platform. So I don't know what they're doing there at Proton competition. I mean, there are fine, like any door, there are fine adjustments on its hinges, and it's clearly something that's carried on from Spa.
Into the pit lane, McLaren 70 that started on LMGT3 pole position. Frederic Schandorf brought it in the lead of the class, as he had been at the head virtually from the get-go. Really good stint. Frederic Schandorf, another of those rather underrated GT drivers. You don't often see him off the racetrack. He is a very, very safe pair of hands, and he's very quick as well. This
would be a great shot to stay with, because that is the car that is contesting the lead. It's a driver change for Inception. I think that's Brendan Arib getting in the car. And if anything, it's the Proton crew who are just a tad ahead here. In comes the 50 car.
Nielsen in, so is he going to serve that penalty now in this pit stop? I should imagine he will.
It's 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
So he's going to lose the lead.
Yes.
And second at least, and possibly third as well. It's going to be fascinating to see not only where this drops the car, but in relation to when the others pit as well, whether anybody else comes in on the same lap, and they're not doing.
Well, Bourdais was 10.2 seconds behind him.
By the way, the Mustang has got out ahead of the McLaren.
Okay. Right, so in this lap, Nielsen, Lapierre in Alpine 35, number 4 Porsche Felipe Nasr, and number 2 Cadillac is in for Alex Lynn. Also, Nick De Vries is in, and you've got Nico Müller in as well.
So this is why he's serving that penalty for this moment here, where you join the fast lane, and Bourdais had to slam the brakes on a clear, unsafe release.
From Nicholas Nielsen's point of view, that he will be unaware pretty much of Bourdais. He is told to go by the car controller. He does as he's told. It's all down to the man at the front with the board. It's his responsibility.
I think you're absolutely right. That was what Nick was asking. Why have I got an unsafe release?
Because he wouldn't know there was a car that close necessarily.
He didn't know. Yeah, I mean, he would have seen Bourdais very close to him, but he wouldn't necessarily know that it was that close when he pulled onto the fast lane. As we now look back at Sebastian Bourdais, with Charles Milesi behind him. who has actually gapped Robert Kubica, hasn't he?
You're right.
He's got genuine pace here.
Yeah, the Alpines are sort of sleeping giants, underdog, call them what you will. They've got good pace without necessarily drawing much attention to themselves, but a home win would be quite something. Just quickly to say, we've got Porsche back in the lead, Pro 10. Lawrence Vanthoor then in number 6. Graham is currently the race leader.
Absolutely. I'd go further with the Alpine thing. I think there is plaudits to be handed to Alpine. There's particular plaudits to be handed to Charles Milesi, because he has been the gun in those cars. When they've been showing that form this season. Let's just see how long they can go. In the pits now, the Isotta Fraschini. And here's the shock news. The Isotta Fraschini has not been running last at any point this race.
Now, Charles Milesi, Graham was just touching on, he is a LMP2 champion of 2 years ago within the World Endurance Championship. So we know that he's good, we know that he's quick. And as there, number 3 heads towards us. Let's listen to Brendan Reed's radio.
Drops of rain around the circuit, so we're just going to use caution, just get a feel for it all.
Yeah, we're getting message that rain is expected in the next 10 minutes, with it coming towards the end of the lap. The first knockings of that.
Oh, good. Great. And this is something else for the drivers and for the teams to factor in. Not only is it very fickle, the weather, all the forecasts that we've had have been contradicted somewhere along the line this week, but you know, rain expected. Light rain, heavy rain, we don't know, nor do we know whether it's going to be all the way around the circuit. So it could well be that you've got a dry section and a wet section, and then what do you do for tyres?
Yeah, I've got the voice of Jason Statham in my head, and he's saying, it always rains at Le Mans.
Right, this is Robert Kubica that you are riding with, and he owes us a pit stop. He's up into 6th place at the moment in the AF Corsa Ferrari. Yellow as opposed to red, threading his way through the Porsche curves. Fantastic section of the circuit, this. And then straightens it up now. Let's see whether he bails for the pit lane, because pit in is to the right. Coming up now as he approaches the Ford chicane. There's traffic ahead. And gone.
Well, just looking at the right-hand tyre there, it looks like he had a little bit of blistering or maybe just pickup. And I wonder if they're going to change these tyres in this pit stop coming up. They didn't, did they, on their number 50 Ferrari, from what I saw. So yeah, let's keep an eye on if there's any driver changes going on, and hence tyre changes as well. The tyres look like they're ready down there at Porsche, and it's a set of softs.
So Vanthoor out of the lead is in, and a driver change, and you've also got number 51 Ferrari in behind it, so you could have a change between those two in the pit stops here. Yeah,
so you got Lotterer here as we look back at him getting into the car, and they're going to put a set of soft tyres, I believe, on that Porsche, which started on the mediums.
Car to watch the progress of, by the way, is the number 4 Penske Porsche. Now, grazing the top 10, that car was running right at the back of the pack in the early minutes of this race.
Looks like they're going to leave driver in here for the Ferrari 51, so Giovinazzi stays in, and hence the tyres should stay on as well, so they're going to triple stint these tyres. It's what I thought he was doing, because it looked like he had the speed. There's another tyre change down there at Porsche, at Penske.
Softs going on.
So the different strategies start here.
And also in is the Hertz Team Jota entry. That was number 38, so Philip Hansen brought it in, having been quick towards the end of the stint as it got lighter, and the car quickly cycled through, dispatched. So now we need to see where number 50 Ferrari is in relation to 50 and to Porsche number 6.
So that was 50. So yeah, so that was Nilsson just slipping past the number 3 Cadillac there of Sebastian Bourdais. So Nilsson has got his tyres obviously in the window. They're still up to temperature, and yeah, just got past through turn 1 round the outside.
Fuel only stops for all 3 of the Ferraris.
We said it was going to be close, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
I said that Bourdais was 10.2 seconds at that point when Nilsson came into the pits, served that 10-second penalty, so he should, in theory, when it all shakes out, be around 4th.
After that pit stop, he's trying to get everything back up to temperature. The Cadillac comes into the chicane. Some of the teams will tell you can lose around 20 seconds on an outlet without the tyre warmers. Now, did the Cadillac go onto new rubber or stay on its original boot?
I'm waiting for my app.
Okay,
let's be patient.
We're hanging on your every word here.
A couple of minutes after each pit stop, it will update, so I'll let you know.
Right, because it's going to be interesting to see. Right, there is Ferrari 51. Let's go on board.
Okay, so we are now leading the race. The Porsche number 6. Porsche number 6 is changing tires. Toyota behind you didn't change tires.
So the Ferraris jumped ahead into the lead with a shorter stop through not changing tyres. But let's see the pace of the Porsche, because on fresher rubber, that's going to be interesting.
So yeah, the kind of fair fight at the moment is, like Giovinazzi's engineer said, is between yourself and Buemi. But Buemi is on the soft tyre, don't forget. So they're taking that tyre into a triple stint. So this will be really interesting. How long can Buemi hang on to that set of soft tyres?
All of this to be revealed.
He's driven a brilliant race so far, as Buemi, but what can he do with his gap now of 7.3 seconds to that of Antonio Giovinazzi, race leader?
Rain class 1 to 2 is expected in 7 minutes' time. So the teams are being warned about this.
And for the drivers that stayed on their tyres, if it rains so much, you're going to have to put the wets on. They've just saved themselves, what, another 20-odd seconds.
Indeed. So this is the lead car then, 51 Ferrari. Antonio Giovinazzi at the wheel. He is now having done 24 laps, an hour and a half into the race, and on track on his own. But Peter Dunbrach, he's been a great start to this race, hasn't he? Trading the lead, and already the fascination coming in the pit stops. Or just
yeah, you can. It's almost a repeat of the end of last year's race, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Should rain in 2 laps, starting from Indianapolis. Should rain in 2 laps. Your P3 on track. Next car in front, Toyota number 8 for the position.
Nicholas Nielsen being warned about the rain. Is that a sinking feeling? The engineer says the rain is on its way, or do you just have to get on with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's expected. I think all of the drivers know that it's in the air, it's around us. You'd be very, very lucky for it not to rain during the race, and I think it's pretty much guaranteed it will at some stage. If this rain, if class 1 to 2 is light rain, they might not need to change tyre. It might be just a bit of a drizzle, but obviously if it comes heavier, then they're going to need to change to wet tyres, and it's difficult to bring 2 cars in at the same time from the same team. For instance, we saw early on for the first stop, Ferrari brought in both cars at the same time, but then on the second stop they separated them by a lap so that they wouldn't have to come in on the same lap again.
Don't want them double stacking if you can avoid it. And Rob Bell, we've also got the likelihood in this rain that's coming of it not being a totally wet track. You've got to cope with the dry section and the wet section, and that again is going to be a key part in what you do with tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the drivers are going to have to earn the money here, and ultimately you're relying on information from radar, etc. But you've got to use your sensors as well, and often the problem is you can be at one end of, just come out to Tête Rouge down Mulsanne, and it can be dry, and halfway down the straight it's pouring down with rain.
Just had a quick look at number 50 Ferrari. That's the car of Nicholas Nielsen. The team manager of that Ferrari has just been summoned to race control immediately. So they've already had a penalty for an unsafe release. Now the team manager to race control.
I'm not sure it's good to be cleaning. The car is undrivable for two laps.
Copy. Don't be afraid on the bars. You can go to front 4, rear 1. Don't be afraid on the bars for the first couple laps, but understood.
Sebastian Buemi talking about number 8 Toyota, currently running in second place, but behind him is number 50 Ferrari, and I do think there's another chapter of that car's woes possibly coming up.
Yes, I think Buemi was then talking about, you know, the whole cold tyre situation, and actually the engineer saying to him, look, you can change your roll bars to help you out on the first couple of laps, to potentially go a little bit softer, just to help you out while you're struggling with the temp in the tyres, and then actually change them back again. So it's great you've got tools in the car to change and help that scenario.
He's not getting away from the Ferrari, is he? So Sebastian Buemi second, and 7 seconds adrift of the leading Ferrari. Now number 6 Porsche that led when it came in, Andre Lotterer is at the wheel. That's gone on to new tyres. So the first problem, Peter, is that he's going to lose a big chunk of time getting them up to temperature.
Yeah, you're right. Fresh driver, of course, as well. Yep. So it's going to take him a few corners, a few half a lap, say, to really bed himself in. And as you say, he's on fresh tyres as well, so it's even harder for him. It's cold conditions, new tyres. It could be a set that they scrubbed already, which we saw in the morning warm-up, some of the teams scrubbing tyres, but probably in these conditions I would think they'd save those tyres, because they've probably only got 2 sets of them for the night time.
If you use a set of slicks now, and let's say you get 4 laps out of them and then it rains, are they effectively junked? You wouldn't use them again, or would you consider putting those on if it dried out, you know, tomorrow, let's say?
I think they may be forced to use them again.
True. Yeah.
There's a limited amount of tyres they've got.
Let's push on that Toyota. They are struggling a lot with balance.
Nothing is sacred, nothing is secret, is it? Sebastian Buemi tells his engineer something, we all hear it, and that's passed back to the Ferrari driver.
The other thing we've got to look at here is we're talking about hypercar and the changing conditions, etc. But actually the other thing to consider, certainly in the other 2 classes, looking at GT3 at the moment, we've got the other thing where some cars have got opted to put their hands in the car now, whereas some have got their pros still in the car. So that could add to that changeable conditions mix.
Okay, Seb, if rain is to come, we expect it turn 17, turn 18, or turn 2 first. Turn 17, 18, or 2 first for rain.
It's a bit of a geographical difference, isn't it, between 17 and 18 and turn 2.
It's a fair spread, yeah. So what, 17, 18 is down on ice, is it?
It's towards the end of the Mulsanne, heading down towards the bottom of Mulsanne corner, sort of the kink before the corner itself after the second chicane. But then, or at turn 2, which is diagonally opposite, really.
Don't know what you do with that information, to be honest, as a driver.
Just get on with it, I think, is pretty much it. Right, anyway, the instruction to Nicholas Nielsen was push, because Sebastian Buemi struggling with balance. He's certainly dropping away from number 51. We'll find out if there's anything else on the back of number 50's team manager being summoned to race control, but there is number 50 bouncing over the curb and putting a lot of grief through the mechanism.
It's never good. It's never good, that sign, when you see that on the TV. Team manager summoned to race control. It's never a good thing. They don't actually want to have a chat and a cup of tea with you. So
exactly.
Yeah, let's see what comes of that. But I can't see it being a good thing.
No, the team manager in question, Matti Brediasco, who has been with AF Corsa for about 100 years, but has raced Ferraris himself. Track is now declared wet. Rain lights on low mode comes the instruction. Interesting this, isn't it? The Ferrari driver, Nicholas Nielsen, being told to push to go after Sebastian Buemi. I was about to say he hadn't really closed. All of a sudden, coming down towards Mulsanne corner, he does get a little bit nearer. There's a leading Ferrari going through. Antonio Giovinazzi, 7.5 seconds up the road from Buemi. And Nielsen is getting fractionally nearer on this 27th lap of the race.
The Alpine looking quite racy behind as well. Are they slightly closing too?
Yeah, Jean Malay's has been a bit of a hero thus far, and he might benefit, might he, if these two start squabbling amongst themselves. Look back from the Toyota, that Ferrari is getting closer and closer. Malay's has had a track limit warning though, Rob, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got to be careful. You know, you don't want to use up your track limit sort of warnings now. Look, these things will happen, but he's got to watch that. Right,
it is now 17:37, about to become 17:38. The rain was expected a minute ago. Robert Kubica are under investigation for an unsafe release as well.
The rain should finish in less than 10 minutes. The rain should finish in less than 10 minutes. So we go through it.
Copy.
Okay, so the rain to finish in 10 minutes. Not entirely sure it started, are we?
So, yeah, I guess if it does come, it's going to be a very short shower, and perhaps it's a situation where you stay on slicks.
And it'll just catch one corner. Yes, the wipers are on and spots of rain on the camera lens. It's round here, isn't it? Porsche Curves where it's wet, and they're having to be very, very careful getting around the LMP2 traffic there.
So that's the engineer coming on, basically saying, look, we know it's a short shower. Whatever happens, you know, we're just going to have to live with it. It's not a downpour around the whole circuit, so I guess...
Toyota in.
Toyota in.
Interesting. So Buemi was complaining of balance anyway. You can see it is raining on this section of the circuit. Well, this is not turn 2 or 17 or 18, is it? So that information, I'm afraid, was not strictly relevant. The Toyota team went straight to wets at Imola, and it worked well. Let's see whether it's going to be the same principle here. Let's have a look. The team is ready, and wet stand by, Peter, don't they?
They are, of course. So we've got a split strategy between Ferrari and Toyota. One thinks it's going to be wet, and the other one thinks it's going to dry up quickly and just stay on the slick.
So that's the first car onto wet. Also in is Charles Milesi, and also in Sebastian Bourdais. And wets are ready for the Cadillac, as you can see. This could be a big gamble. If it pays off, those teams are going to be heroes if the road gets really wet. But from what we're being told from Ferrari, within 10 minutes, the road will be gone again, or it will have stopped.
And plus there'll be areas of the track which remain dry.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's going to burn up those wet tyres.
So this could be the wrong roll of the dice.
Well, I think this is a case of if you're going to go out on wets now, you have got to look after them, because if you go out and push too hard on the dry parts, you're going to just kill them. So this is going to be a test for the drivers of sort of maturity, experience, etc.
Talking of maturity and experience, Bourdais and Malaysia are under investigation for their pit lane behaviour at 17:28. Anyway, we'll come back and see whether there's everything's. It's not this pit stop; it was an earlier stop, presumably. There, you've got number 9 in, which is the Proton Oreca, started by Ben Viscal, and it will either be Matteo Capietto or Jonas Reed to take the car over, the class leading car from LMP2. So this stop shuffles the order yet again, and there is number 50 Ferrari, Nicholas Nielsen, who was running in 2nd place. The gap 8 seconds to race-leading teammate Antonio Giovinazzi, but the order again shuffling thanks to people being brought in for wet tyres. Now, this part of the circuit, you would not consider wet, would you?
Exactly, and actually we know from earlier in the week when we had similar situations to this, where the track was a little bit, or you saw a little bit of rain in the air, you saw the rain on the windscreens, and yet the cars all stayed out on slicks, and they were only, say, 4 seconds a lap slower.
Or Kubica there, hanging on to his 3rd place, squabbling with Andre Lotterer. Kubica 3rd, Lotterer 4th.
Okay, so the Toyota has boxed me and you. The Toyota has pitted. Let us know the situation in this lap. We are ready.
Now the track is dry. It was just from Arnage to, let's say, Tarsis.
Fantastic battle going on here between, as you can see, the Ferrari of Robert Kubica, the Porsche behind him of Andre Lotterer, and Philip Hansen has caught right up in the Jota entry, and they've got traffic to try and get through as well. And it is now very heavy rain near where we are at the start and finish line. So drivers are reporting back that it's dry here or it's wet there, but the pit lane is getting very, very wet indeed, and everybody around us is going for an umbrella.
I was just about to say, I can't believe that the wet is the right call, because looking at the circuit on the TV here, the screen in front of us, it looks absolutely dry. And then, yeah, and Davidson just pointed out to look at, actually, just look out the window, Rob. It's pouring down with rain, so yeah, that was very helpful to actually remember to look out the window.
But again, it's not wet all the way around. This was what it was doing yesterday. It had the occasional heavy but very, very brief shower. So now on slicks and on a wet part of the racetrack, they come out of the Porsche curves. Let's see who bails for the pits this time. Porsche in the background went for the pit lane, and up the curve goes Kubica. Andre Lotterer with all of his Le Mans experience, then bearing down on Kubica. He threads his way out of the Ford chicane. In has come 51, then the leader is in. Antonio Giovinazzi goes for the pit lane, interestingly. So the lead car comes into the pits. In Imola, it was the Ferrari team that gambled not to go to wets and lost out. We've already seen Toyota gamble, Cadillac gamble, Alpine gamble and go on to wets, and there's going to be a driver change here as well.
I think in this situation, Ferrari just have to cover what Toyota do.
Yeah.
And if they do it, then they should also do it.
So James Collado is going to take over. Of course, this is the winning team of last year, the leading team at the moment. Heavy rain reported at Marshall's Post 7. Right, so those that are on wets now can make hay, certainly at given parts of the circuit, but where it's dry, those on slicks will be able to get themselves back up to proper pace. But it's real heart-in-mouth stuff now if you're on slicks, isn't it?
It is, and it's the last thing. James Collado getting in the car there, he'll be hoping very much that they put wets on.
Yeah.
The last thing he wants to do is get in a car with slicks on, and it's pouring down with rain. And he's the one being told, just hang on for 10 minutes, James, you'll be all right. You know, we think it's going to pass.
But I would suspect, Peter, you might agree with me on this, that there's more of the track wet than dry now.
I think it's more a case of that it's so wet here at the pit area that it, you know, even if you've got 3/4 of a dry track elsewhere, it's so wet here that it's probably better just to be on the wets just for this one section, which might be, yeah, a quarter, a third of the track.
But it does actually just stop raining here, so...
Yes, well, it eased, I think. There are still umbrellas up, but side by side here goes Ferrari and Porsche. To the inside line, look, goes Lotterer. Is he going to go through? He does. He makes the move. He goes by. So Andre Lotterer now takes over the lead of the race, puts himself ahead of Nicholas Nielsen. Robert Kubica is there in 3rd. So Porsche leads Le Mans. Ferrari 2nd and 3rd. And not only has Lotterer got the lead, he's pulled away, hasn't he? That car took on new soft on the last pit stop. So it's a slick-shod Porsche in the lead of the race, and he's using those as best he can where he's got the traction. Change for second. Kubica moves himself up past Nielsen as well now. They tiptoe their way out of Mulsanne corner. But Robert Kubica then, having moved himself up ahead of Nicholas Nielsen, sets off in pursuit of Lotterer, and it looks really treacherous here.
That's heavy rain down towards Indianapolis now, so yeah, I think the wet tyre is certainly the way to go. They can't, they're not even flat on the throttle anymore. They're being so careful, especially at this stage of the race, so early. You don't want to throw it off the road. But yeah, they've just opened up and come to a dry part of the track again. It's crazy.
It just teases them, doesn't it? Teases the drivers, teases the teams. They can be on the radio saying it's really wet, I need to box, and then they get to the next corner and it's dry. But Kubica on this lap is absolutely on a mission. He's gone from third to second, and he might well be the leader by the end of the lap because he is right there on the tail of Lotterer.
Of course, he's also got rally driving experience. He's driven all sorts of different cars, F1, lots of rally. So he knows the car under him.
And knows what to do with slippery conditions. So the AF Corsa engineers look on. Nicholas Nielsen falling away a little bit. Kubica dropping away coming out of the Porsche curves. If you're going to lose out to a Porsche anywhere, the Porsche curves will be the place. And Lotterer then accelerating his way up towards the end of the lap. These are the three lead cars with 29 laps done at the end of this. Nicholas Nielsen in third place there. Let's listen in.
It's gonna stop at the next lap, mate. It's gonna stop at the next lap.
Okay, so we stay out. What tires are the 83 on?
So into the pit lane comes Lotterer, presumably because he wants wets, at the same point that Nielsen is being told it's going to stop in the next lap or two.
Again, split strategies, so let's see how this plays out.
I still think they're going to need more rain for these cars on the wet tyres to really benefit. There are wet parts of the circuit, as we've seen, but there's also quite a lot of dry running, and the rain is due to end shortly. So wets are ready for Andre Lotterer. In he comes, and the team will put some fuel in the car, and then they'll go to work on the tyres. These kind of two-part pit stops. You can't do anything else other than the refueling. Then the other work can start.
So it'll be interesting to see when this car comes out where it is in reference to where the Toyota was. We knew it came in for wet tyres a little bit earlier, 2 laps earlier.
James Collado, of course, has gone on to wets, and these two Ferraris are still on slicks, and Nielsen coming back at the race leader, Robert Kubica. He is the race leader, Kubica, by dint of staying out, because, of course, Lotterer did lead and pitted, and he won't be leader for much longer because Nielsen is all over him like a cheap suit as they come down to the braking zone for the first chicane. Kubica just ahead, but Nicholas Nielsen right there behind him as they thread their way right and left and right again. We've also got Sebastian Buemi lapping quicker than anybody else ahead of him at the moment. Buemi, who went on to wet, didn't he? Toyota number 8, 7th place, but he's lapping quicker than anyone ahead of him as we look at this lead battle. Kubica hanging on to the advantage, but only just.
In amongst all of this, Will Stevens in the Hertz Team Jota is in third position, so that's the car that we saw retugged in the last couple of days, up to third.
Yeah, and that's been a slow burn in a sense, hasn't it? They just quietly got on with it over the opening stint and now put it up into, as you say, third. And fourth is Andrea Caldarelli, Le Mans rookie, having his first outing at Le Mans. He is fourth in the better of the two Lamborghinis, the Lamborghini Iron Lynx entry. Number 19, Andrea Caldarelli dominated GT racing a few years ago. Part of the Lamborghini family, very definitely. It still looks quite wet down here, but I would say not as wet as on the previous lap.
Yeah, we see the last lap from Robert Kubica, 3:55 versus a 3:54 from Buemi on the wet tyres in the Toyota. So actually a very similar lap time, and if it doesn't rain anymore, of course, it's going to be Kubica who starts to go quicker again.
Yellow flag at Marshall's post 20. That, I think, is Mulsanne corner, isn't it? And so we've got the yellow flag out at Mulsanne corner. We'll try and work out who. Well, he's got going again, whoever it was. So a brief off. Yellow flag withdrawn. Green flag shown once more. This is where we stand at the moment in terms of tyres. Softs for the leading Ferrari. Mediums for Nicholas Nielsen behind. And there is a Corvette in strife. It has got going from Mulsanne corner and stopped on the run on towards Indianapolis. So the Corvette stranded. Yellow flag is shown. Driver will try to get that car going, and he does so. And also off the road is the 54 Ferrari then. That's the Vista AF Corsa car.
Slick tyres on that car also.
Okay. And it was Thomas Floor at the wheel of the Ferrari, and it was 82 Corvette that was in strife, and he's trying to get going again, and that means that it is the Hiroshi Koizumi car, Koizumi at the wheel of it. That Ferrari in the gravel might take a little bit more extraction. 77 there, currently 4th in LMGT3. Ryan Hardwick chasing after Rahal Frey, who in turn is going after Christopher Mies, and it is Larry Ten Voorde for JMW Motorsport leading LMGT3 right now. So we're getting busy. That Ferrari, in theory, ought to be able to fire up and drive off, shouldn't it? Because it's virtually on the access road.
Yeah, he should be. He should be, you know, as long as there's no damage, which we're just looking at.
There's going to be, because it was a bit of hip and shoulder that turned him around, the Oreca to the inside.
I don't think that's going to be much damage, though. I think that's a question of actually probably just gathering himself together and working out which buttons to press.
OK, so Thomas Floor will try to get going again as soon as he can. Yellow flag, though, is still being shown trackside. As there, look, you've got Christopher Mies, who's dominated GT racing for Audi for many, many years, but this is his first appearance in the Le Mans 24 Hours. It's getting drier, isn't it? These engineers that were saying it's going to stop raining seem to be right.
3:43 from Nicholas Nielsen in the Ferrari, and the Toyota, maybe it isn't through yet, but
3:54 last time. So
yeah, it's not through the start and finish line yet.
No, it needs its next lap to be registered. Right, it hasn't got to the end of sector 3, but it's not far away. A 3:53 for Eduardo Mortara's Lamborghini.
So it's lost 6 seconds to the leaders.
Yeah, 3:49 that last lap for Buemi. So it's advantage slicks again, isn't it? And that's going to really hurt Lotterer, because he'll have only been on those wets for 2-3 laps, if that.
Yeah, that was that might prove to be a bit of an error, that call. If it doesn't rain again, he's going to come back in again for slicks, while everyone on slicks doesn't have that. So effectively, he's cost himself a pit stop.
Yeah.
If it doesn't rain again.
Let's have a listen into number 50 Ferrari then. Second place now.
Now it's starting to rain again in sector 1.
Starting to rain again in sector 1. As right round the outside of the traffic goes Robert Kubica. I know I've used the word already, but teasing just is what that weather is doing. Just when you think it's clearing up, starts to rain. Side by side for the race lead. Nicholas Nielsen has got the run, but he's on the outside line down to Mulsanne corner. Robert Kubica hangs on to it as they go into the kick before the corner, but you've got to be so careful here, Peter, because there are still wet patches around.
Nicholas Nielsen's got the cut back on him here.
So they run side by side, and there is traffic ahead. Who has got the most leaden right foot? Let's see. Nielsen's got the line on the inside. Kubica tries to stand his ground on the outside. They are absolutely toe-to-toe as they come towards us. The two Ferraris with the Porsche many laps down behind them. Nielsen's going to have the inside line for the next corner, the run up towards Indianapolis. But Robert Kubica is going to go and keep the lead round the outside. Fantastic racing between the two of them. And Robert Kubica, very brave indeed. He comes out in front. Fabulous racing.
Seems just to have the edge down the straights, because Nielsen definitely got a better exit out of the corner.
Yeah.
Pulled up alongside very, very quickly, but actually Kubica just managed to pull away, you know, at the top of the straight, and that was the same the last time we watched.
And look at the pace that Neil Jani has got behind. I know he's many, many laps down now, 3 laps down, but he's showing kind of what that car's capable of. Nielsen's going to have another go. Kubica, with his pointy elbows, sticks them out and says, no, you don't. And so yellow Ferrari Kubica, red Ferrari Nielsen, absolutely tied together, and this is fantastic racing, isn't it? 2-star drivers at the top of their game.
To me, it looks like the yellow Ferrari of Kubica has the advantage in the damper conditions, and then Nielsen is that little bit quicker in the drier conditions.
Traffic also to be dispensed with. Nervous faces at AF Corsa. That operates all the cars, even if one is under the official Ferrari badge. And there, gap stretching again and braking as they come now towards the exit of the Ford chicane. Right, look back from Kubica's car. This, the race leader. He will break the beam this time and put 31 laps in the book, and the advantage, if that's the right word, is 9/10 of a second as they came over the stripe. And that's after nearly 2 hours of racing as they head now up through the Dunlop chicane once more. Kubica up front now. Behind them, Will Stevens is third, but I reckon he might be on wets, you know, because he is not lapping as quickly as these two. Michael Christensen in Porsche number 5 is fourth. Andrea Caldarelli's Lamborghini is fifth. and Sebastian Buemi, his last lap was a 3:50. It does definitely look that at the moment the advantage is to those on the slicks, but if the extra rain forecast comes very shortly, then those that are still struggling on the wet tyres will be given a lifeline.
Yeah, according to our data here, Will Stevens is on slicks. He's on the same set of slicks as he started the race on.
Right, okay, well the lap time is a little bit slower. We just got a glimpse of Robert Schwarzman getting ready to get on board the 83 Ferrari that he shares with Kubica, who's behind the wheel now, and Yifei, who will be the third man. Into the pit lane has just come Sebastian Buemi and James Collado. So Toyota and Ferrari pit. They were on wet tyres, remember?
Yep, so they've obviously called it to go back to slicks. They're losing too much time, 7 seconds a lap currently if you've got a wet tyre on, it looks like. Yeah. So that decision by Andre Lotter or his team to bring him in and put him on wets, obviously that's cost them a lot of time as well. He was leading the race. He came in from the lead to put wets on.
And it's not that Lotterer is not experienced around here, is it? 3 times an outright winner, but the next surprise, arguably, is that he has also stayed out. He has not said, I need to come in for slicks. He's persevering. Maybe, we're not hearing it, but maybe the radio traffic in that Porsche is stay out because there's more rain coming. But there, look, that's number 4 going from wets back to slicks.
I think because the rain is so patchy and spread around, at the minute they are going off what the radar's saying more than what the driver's saying, actually. So it's an absolute nightmare if you're out there trying to second guess the weather, isn't it? I mean,
it's making for a great race, though.
It does. It's spicing things up. There's people coming up and down the order, but very, very tricky to call the right call.
Where we are, no umbrellas in sight, but it is very, very windy looking out of the window. There, number 7 Toyota is on its way out of the pit lane, and Kamui Kobayashi has taken over from start driver Nick de Vries. Patrick Pilet, by the way, for Vector Sport, leading in LMP2, and Larry Ten Voorde is still leading in LMGT3. And that Ferrari that we saw off the road, Thomas Floor, the car that put him there and is being investigated is a certain number 47 Cool Racing LMP2 Oreca with Naveen Rao, who we'd already seen have a spin at turn 2. Then he got involved with Thomas Floor. That is being investigated, but Naveen Rao is having a rather checkered weekend, isn't he?
I think it's difficult. First time here, as we know, and obviously very, very experienced, great teammates he's got. But it's, yeah, he's finding it tough, and that car was, we saw it slow. It had a punctured radiator. It was the first car in the box at all in the race. So, yeah, no, it's not exactly going their way, let's say. If it wasn't for bad luck, they'd have none at all.
True enough, yes. So Naveen Rao and Thomas Floor got together, and it is being looked at, but Thomas Floor was on the outside as Naveen Rao kind of slithered into him. Right, Robert Kubica is protected a little bit by the GR Racing Ferrari splitting him and Nicholas Nielsen as they come up towards the timing line. Last time it was a second, it's now 11/10 as they come through. Robert Kubica kind of stretching the advantage, looking a little bit more secure, a little bit.
Again, I think it's a little bit damp through the Porsche curve still. I think we're about to come onto a drier part of the track, and I expect Nielsen to again close back in.
And we know with Robert Schwarzman standing by, Kubica is not that far off a pit stop as the cars then now turn their way.
He's going to get trouble here. I think he's getting by, so get ready.
That was brave because he had to use the curb on the inside. Nicholas Nielsen goes through. He's halved the gap already, hasn't he? Thanks to the back marker. And he gets the run now. Further up the road, there is this battle in LMGT3, and it's for second. Christopher Mies versus Rahal Frey. Mustang versus Lamborghini. And a drive-through penalty is being given to Thomas Floor for causing that collision as the lead has changed. Through goes Nielsen.
Okay, we are losing too much time with the rain, with the wet tires. We are going to box for soft.
Andre Lotterer being told, finally, we're going to box for soft. We're losing too much time, as you heard. And just before that, Nicholas Nielsen did it, went through, and he's back into the lead of the Le Mans 24 Hours. But this Inter-Nissan Ferrari fight continues, but in a new order. Nielsen ahead, Kubica now behind him in second place.
Nielsen did a really good job of reading the situation there, reading the road, and the traffic just caught Kubica out. Not really his fault. You can't exactly just back out of, you know, or force it too much, so he backed out of Tête Rouge, which meant he had a poor rating onto the straight line. Actually, Kubica did the right thing. It's just Nielsen read it even better, and it was in a great place.
That drive-through penalty for Thomas Floor. I'm a bit surprised at that, because he was on the outside line. He had to turn for the corner at some point, but he gave the car of Navin Rao space on the inside, so...
He just get hit from behind, didn't he?
No.
Sort of rear side to rear. Well, gone.
From what I saw, he kind of got most of the way alongside him, and then the GT car closed in on him.
Okay. But if Thomas Floor had been shown a blue flag and therefore didn't respond properly, then the bulk of the blame goes on his shoulders. Now, for second place in LMGT3, and this demonstrates how well the GT3 concept works, two totally different ways of attacking the LMGT3 problem, if you like. The grunt and go Mustang, the rather more aero-friendly Lamborghini, and they've got hypercars threading their way through the mix as well. This is car 70's radio traffic.
VT88 and be very careful in between the second chicane and Arnage. Very careful.
Ollie Milroy being warned about being careful between the second chicane and Arnage, so still slippery down there. But here, look, the sun's coming out.
Another loser in all that seems to be the 51 cars dropped right down the order, and we did see that coming in, and we said at the time we saw it on slicks when it was pouring down the rain. It sort of came in, we assumed they went out on wets. In fact, they were out on wet, so they've lost a chunk of time as well. So this is having a massive effect on the race, the weather.
Yeah, 51 Ferrari is now on 4 pit stops, whereas the leading cars are all on 2 pit stops. So there was the extra one to change tyres, wrong choice, and a 4th pit stop to change back to what you were on in the first place.
Yeah, he's back on a new set of mediums now, James Collado.
And all that work that Sebastian Buemi did to bring the car up and actually lead the race at one stage was undone by the wrong choice.
Yeah, whereas number 7 Toyota, Kamui Kobayashi, is just chipping away. A little bit like we've got one or two of the Porsches that don't look to be that rapid at the moment. They're chipping away, so it is the case for number 7. Right, let's head to the pit lane. Rouchouani, Jean Alesi. Words with the French driver right now.
At the beginning of the race, I got some oil on the windscreen. So, and then I tried to do the washer, but it was not working properly and got worse and worse. So I did the whole stint without seeing anything, mainly. Then second stint was quite okay with the medium tires, and yeah, with the rain came, it was difficult to know if it was going to be worse or not, but yeah, it got worse and worse in Porsche curves, and we tried to put some rain tires, but I think it was not the right call. So we'll see. There is still 22 hours remaining, so and car feels good, so we'll see where we are in a couple of hours.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Now, in the meantime, it is Nicholas Nielsen ahead of Robert Kubica. We're on lap 34, and the gap last time when they came last pits was just over a second. Robert Kubica getting set to give way to Yiffy Ye before much longer. Will Stevens third. Now, he is a long way back, 26.5 seconds adrift, and lapping on the same kind of pace as Kubica, but they're both being caught by Michael Christensen's 4th place Porsche. That is lapping a little bit quicker now in 4th spot, as I say. Let's go to Loic Duval.
There is another shower expected in 25 minutes, Loic.
Right, more rain in 25 minutes then, just to keep everyone on the toes.
So we can roll those dice again, and anything can happen. I don't think this is the last we've seen of the rain. I think it's going to happen at gradually different stages throughout the race.
Double yellow.
Certainly tomorrow morning is forecast quite heavy.
Double yellow at Marshall's Post 24, and that's where we're heading to, because it is the approach to Indianapolis. So have a look out of the front of the car, well, or trackside now, because they're heading into that yellow zone. Let's see if we can work out who it is that has gone off the circuit. Up towards Indianapolis. Gap comes right down, doesn't it? Nicholas Nielsen perhaps responding to the yellow rather better there than behind him Robert Kubica did, but there's nothing apparent as to why the yellow would be there.
It's quite interesting between these cars as well, because Nielsen's actually on medium compound, and he has been from the start, whereas Kubica's on the softs, but the pace seems actually quite similar.
And this elasticated gap stretching in the
double yellows, Indy. Double yellows at Indianapolis.
Okay.
Okay, so that was a little moment ago. They've gone through that corner. They've now been removed as well. Robert Kubica didn't slow down that much.
I guess he used the car. It's always easy to use the car in front as a bit of a gauge, but it does explain what I was saying earlier, why the yellow car of Kubica is a little bit quicker in the damper conditions, because he's got softer tyres. Simple as that.
Indeed so. You're looking back from Kubica's car there. The traffic there is Nicholas Nielsen, who comes up towards the end of lap 34 then. And we've just tipped over, incidentally, a few moments ago, the 2-hour mark. So 2 hours done. The yellow's removed at Indianapolis. Drivers getting set for their, in some cases, first stint behind the wheel. And the leaders go through. And after what was a real battle pack before the showers came, these two, by getting the tyre choice right and reading the weather right, have cleared off into the distance, because you've got to go 26 seconds further back before you find anybody else.
Yeah, I think that's the same in some of the other classes. Just looking at GT3 at the minute, the lead car, the Inception car, that was leading going into all this, has dropped back significantly, but they have opted to put their bronze driver in. So again, I think the weather just thrown a few people out, and if you've got an inexperienced driver in the car, you're going to lose more time in that scenario.
Confirm, box this lap, confirm. Is the track still tricky in some places? We need to pick up the compound, soft or medium?
No, medium, mate. Medium is fine.
So Nicholas Nielsen comes into the pit lane at the end of this lap, and medium's his call.
Yep, you can see he's pulled away again from Kubica. He's very confident on that tyre, as long as the track's dry. If it's that little bit extra wet, you can see he drops back. He's not so confident, but yeah, let's see if this rain comes in 25 minutes, it might be all change again.
Absolutely right. As we just had Robin Frins, number 20 BMW, do that car's best lap of the race. Number 20 BMW, the ARC car, chipping its way up the order, sort of flying under the radar as it has all weekend. Andrea Caldarelli has done a personal best sector. Others are doing personal best sectors as well.
So yeah, the Lambos have benefited from that. They're up to 4th and 5th now from way back. So, you know, it's really mixed the order up.
And we've got a Lexus leading LMGT3. Esteban Masson for Acrodis ASP team leads the way. So Nicholas Nielsen coming then down towards Mulsanne corner on effectively his in-lap. From the radio traffic, we're being told that he's going to come in at the end of this lap and go on to mediums. What about Robert Kubica behind? Let's listen in to 83 Ferrari.
2 laps to go, 2 laps to go. 50 is informed to full push.
Right, so in lap for Nielsen, 2 more laps for Kubica.
So the question is, what tyre does he go on to when his stop comes in 2 laps time? So we know Nielsen's going to medium tyres, but does Kubica? Because I think in general it's a quicker compound right now.
And could you, assuming the rain does come and you're on softs and you want to stay out on the slicks, does a soft compound give you a better chance when it rains? So maybe the soft is a good option right now.
Yeah, and he might lose, say, half a second a lap before it rains, but then when the rain comes, yeah, he's going to gain all that back again.
Right, so pit stop due for Nicholas Nielsen as they come then down towards the Porsche curves this time. Ferrari 1-2 with the AF Corsa car chasing the Ferrari AF Corsa. In other words, the factory entry ahead of the semi-privateer car of Ferrari favourite AF Corsa, Amato Ferrari's team, the Italian who has specialised in running incredibly successful Ferraris, whether it's been in One Make Series, whether it's been in GT racing, whether it's been in hypercar, and now, look, thanks to the traffic, the gap is down, and in comes Nicholas Nielsen anyway. So number 50 Ferrari in, and
they'll fix that mirror.
Yeah, they need to, don't they? I was about to say the mirror has come loose, but the screen has come loose, but into the pit lane it comes, and Nielsen on the radio.
Yeah, no problem, mate. Just leave the wind.
Yeah, mate, we're going to box. We think the soft is a safer choice for the weather that is upcoming. We will put Antonio with the soft. We think it's a safer choice.
Right, so in comes number 50, Nicholas Nielsen, and Antonio Fuoco then to take over and going on to the soft. Not the driver's call, that's the team believing they read this better. Interesting.
Well, also, you've got a different driver in the car. He needs to get up to speed as quickly as possible.
Enough, yeah.
And it's probably the safer call. They've got a decent advantage.
So Nicholas Nielsen, who has done the fastest lap of the race early on, lap 3, gives way to Antonio Fuoco, and that is a very badly damaged car up at turn 3. Is that 54 Ferrari again, the Thomas Floor Ferrari?
I wonder whether we're going to see a safety car here.
We might do, and that's going to throw everything up in the air because there's a bit of barrier damage there as well. It's all self-induced, isn't it, guys?
Kind of looks like it. Is he on his outlet?
No, he's not.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, actually, but I guess...
spin that way, yeah.
Could that be a legacy of the earlier damage?
Well, I'm thinking it's a legacy of the kink to the right, and he's lost it on the exit of the kink to the right.
I was just wondering whether, after that earlier clash with Naveen Rao, that's done some damage that
possibly
finally has put him off. But the net result is, I think that car's probably badly damaged enough to be out of the race.
Fama in the pit garage. Bruno, there is a lot happening with Alpine in Formula 1 here in Le Mans, the launch of the new A290, sorry. So competition, but also road cars.
Yeah, great week for Alpine this week in Le Mans with the launch of the new car. A290, the first car of a new era for Alpine, the first car of the Dream Garage. And now here for the 24 hours of Le Mans with the A424, the fourth race of this car only. We can't wait for racing. We know that a lot of things will happen at the race, and then next week, Formula 1, 24 races, a tough agenda, but an incredible project for developing the Alpine brand. Which is really sporty with its DNA, and we are very proud of that project.
I saw Pierre Gasly earlier on. Is he interested in the 24 hours? Are you aiming at some point at putting some F1 drivers here, or is it too complicated?
Both Formula 1 drivers, Pierre and Esteban, were here. I think both are interested, but now. they want to continue in Formula 1 for some years, of course, but I think one day we may see them hopefully with an Alpine.
Okay, thank you so much. Great to see the brand pushing in competition. Good luck.
Thank you.
Both drivers want to stay in Formula 1, but whether or not they will do so in the same team remains to be discovered. Right, we have a slow zone out on track because the Ferrari is being retrieved. And the slow zone therefore reduces the pace, but it allows the marshals to work. But it's going to be quite a lengthy one, I would have thought, that, because you've got the car to move, you've got maybe a bit of track sweeping, and there's some barriers to be checked, if not repaired.
Yeah, it's always the carbon all over the floor as well, which can potentially then cause another a puncture in another car. So they'll do the job properly, but usually do clear things up very, very quickly here. I don't think the damage to the barrier was substantial. It was more the impact was the energy was dissipated by the tyres he hit. So actually, I don't think that's going to be too long.
Right, in comes Robert Kubica, and he's going to give way, isn't he, to Robert Schwarzman. I think we'd seen him standing ready. Now we need to have a look at tyres, don't we? What are they going to choose? So the fuel goes in first, and what's standing by? Was it soft that I saw? Robert Schwarzman gets in.
I would imagine they're going softs just like the other car.
It's got softs on at the minute, and it worked for them, so yeah, I would think that would be the case. Lamborghinis have really benefited from all this. Both of them. They stayed on their tyres from the start.
Yeah, they might not have had the pace, but they've come up the order, and the car needing to go onto its dollies there to get it into position. Slightly strange arrival into the pits, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that to go around one of the GT cars, actually, so they had to park at an angle, but by regulation, you have to then straighten that car up before you can work on it, so get that done. It'll cost them probably, you know, best part of 5, 6, 7 seconds before the put. They had brand new mediums lined up to go on that car. That looks like softs on the Kubica car, doesn't it? The 83 Ferrari. Which
is what they put onto the lead car, wasn't it, for Antonio Fuoco in 51. So Robert Schwarzman takes 83 into the race. That car came in the lead. Now we will also, Michael Christensen has just left the pit lane. Andrea Caldarelli was third, he is in. So we'll see at the end of this lap if that car comes to the lead of the race. But now, in LMGT3, the Dennis Olsen, Mikael Pedersen, Giorgio Roda Mustang is under investigation for a technical infringement. And normally that kind of message only comes up after a race when scrutineering has happened, but a technical infringement, possibly, it's under investigation. Car 88, another one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that sounds like it could be the way they monitor the torque on these cars. They have sensors on the in the drive shafts on the cars, and that tells the organisers what power output the cars are actually producing, and that's all regulated. So if you have problems with the sensor, you could have nothing wrong with the whole car, but if you have a problem with the sensor, the FIA ACO ask you to come in and fix the sensor, because otherwise you don't know what power output you've got.
Didn't something like that happen to Nick Tandy's Porsche at Daytona, and he lost time? And there was something on a similar vein. It's in the back of my mind. So, yeah, it's as you say, very well monitored, and you don't get away with it with all the data and the telemetry that's available to the ACO's technical team these days. Right, the slow zone will at turn 1 effectively start at the exit of the Ford chicane, Marshall's post 35. So you have to start slowing there. The slow zone up round turns 1, 2 and 3, and there is number 50 Ferrari moving itself ahead of the Jota Porsche, coming down now through the chicane. There is number 12, so that means that you're going to have Antonio Fuoco in the lead of the race, Will Stevens still behind the wheel of the Porsche in second spot.
Or is Robert Schwartzman in the lead of the race?
Oh no, he just pitted and left.
Right. Oh, it's not updated yet.
Don't think so, because I think, well, I would be surprised.
Bear in mind everyone else stopped as well, so
check when they cross the line, but I would have thought that on his outlet that would have put Fuoco ahead. Come what may, Fuoco ahead of Will Stevens, which stopped a lap earlier, and then behind number 20 BMW that we've hardly seen really, but it is creeping into the mix now. So Robin Frins, the very, very successful, very quick Dutch driver at the wheel of it, and has also now, I think I'm right in saying, put himself up past, yes he has, Robin, the Will Stevens Porsche. So change for 4th place. Will Stevens, who's been in that car since the start, dropping back a little bit as Fuoco comes up towards us.
So I think Schwartzman is actually coming into Porsche cars now.
Okay, apologies in that case. Right, so he will still therefore lead the race.
Okay, I'm not going to fight too hard. We're better to go with him.
Yeah, perfect. Good strategy. Stay with him. Still 21 hours to go. Still a long way, mate.
Will Stevens then prepared to let them go, but stay with them. So if Schwartzman has been able to keep the lead, then that's been very, very good work indeed, given how close he was to number 50 Ferrari in their earlier battle.
Of course, 50 had to leave the pits with fresh tyres, fresh driver, cold tyres. You've got a hot lap, a hot in lap from Kubica. So now you've got Robert Schwartzman on a cool lap, cool tyre lap, just trying to keep the distance, really.
And you are absolutely right, Peter. Apologies, he is in the lead of the race still because he's broken the beam and therefore will have quite an advantage over second place Michael Christensen, who will complete his outlet, and then that's going to put Fuoco third, but some way back.
How did he gain 30 seconds on Fuoco, though? That's pretty bizarre.
It's not anything to do with, no, it can't be to do with the slow zone, because pit out wouldn't be affected by that, would it? Discuss.
Yeah.
But yes.
We need someone clever like Anthony to... Oh, he's not here. So.
It'd be quite interesting to see the pit stop time. We don't have that on our screen. We have the number of stops, but not the last pit stop time. But
it surely had to have something to do with that slow zone in the first sector.
Can't think of anything else. And maybe the 83 Ferrari, but no, that pitted, after 50.
That was it. So Fuoco left the pits. Did he leave the pits during that yellow at the first corner and therefore going slower? Then it was gone, and Schwartzman left the pits.
But we still got the yellow there. We still got the yellow in that slow zone. That's the green at the other end of it. So we'll try and unpack that in due course. But given how close they were, that is a mighty gain, because it's now 6 seconds between the top two and 33 seconds first to third. Number 65's most recent pit stop is being investigated. That's the Panis Racing, Rodrigo Salas, Matthias Bech, Scott Huffaker, Orica. Now, remember number 8 Toyota, Sebastian Buemi is in 5th place. He's about to be 4th by the look of it on Will Stevens.
Okay, Kamui, slight rain expected in 15 minutes, but very light, very light. We can stay out.
So light rain expected, as you just heard, and Buemi gains a place then. So Will Stevens got himself up into contention by when the car pitted, and when he didn't in terms of making the wrong tyre call, but now pure pace, it's being shuffled back down the order.
Yep. So I've had a message from someone cleverer than us, Karun Chandok, and he said, yes, the 83 lost less time in the pits because of the slow zones. Therefore, his gain on track was more.
So Schwarzman leads Michael Christensen by 7 seconds, and the Porsche then, which is number 5 Porsche in 2nd place. That's the car that he shares with Matt Campbell and Fred Makovicky, trying to go after that lead Ferrari. 3rd is Antonio Fuoco, then having to make up for lost time. And then in 4th place, it is Sebastian Buemi, ahead of Robin Frins on track. So then you've got the lead of LMP2, Patrick Pilet, for Vector Sport, ahead of Clement Novalak in the Inter-Europol competition entry, and 3rd in LMP2 right now, Ritomo Miata for Cool Racing. GT3, it's still the Lexus, Esteban Masson in 87, ahead of Christopher Mies in the Mustang number 44, and 3rd, Rahal Frey in the Iron Dames Lamborghini. So that slow zone still in operation at turn 1. Buemi's going to get caught up in traffic here, isn't he, coming into Mulsanne corner. There's Robin Frins, who's on an outlap, and he's fallen back a little bit. In fact, he's the one chasing after Kamui Kobayashi at the moment in number 7 Toyota, and he's picking his way through the traffic. So 7, which is Kobayashi, runs 8th, and Robin Frins behind him, 9th from Toyota a moment ago. Apologies. So the Art Car BMW getting on with this, and although some of the teams are telling their drivers that there's more rain on the way, Race Control are letting people turn off the rain lights.
Yeah, it all seems to be settling down now, doesn't it? So weather seems to have calmed down, and we're going to see probably some quick laps being put in soon.
Car is more understeer again, but maybe it's wind. There's a lot of wind out there.
Klaus Bachler from number 92 Porsche saying it's very windy.
Obviously he's not agreeing with his lunch that he had before the race.
Toyota versus BMW battle here. This is for 8th and 9th places. Robin Frins, we know he's quick. The BMW perhaps not quite as good yet as the other hypercar brands, but the development continues apace. But maybe this is going to be one of those races where it's not about outright speed. If the weather continues as it is, it can be about survival.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say any of the teams did anything wrong there. It's just one small error, or it's, you know, the slow zone at the wrong time or whatever, and you've got a new leader again, and a healthy lead and an extending lead. So he's up to almost 8.5 second lead now, Robert Schwarzman. We know he's on a soft tyre, so he's ready for the damper conditions if they come.
And he's able to extend that margin, isn't he, over Michael Christensen, as you say. You saw the onboard information telling of a slow zone, and there off the road is that Frins in the BMW. That's coming into the Ford chicane.
I think that is a BMW.
It's the Art Car, isn't it?
Art Car, yeah.
So Robin Frins, who we've just been talking about chasing after Kamui Kobayashi, has got it all wrong, as you can see. And
so he must have lost it on the right-hander, and he's clouted the end of the wall, hasn't he?
Thierry Tassin from WRT, not impressed at all. Adam Hardy, who is the chief engineer on the car, will be on the radio, no doubt, to the driver. And that's quite a hit into the tyres, isn't it? That would need to pit, certainly, but it will have to do a whole lap from there to get into the pits, which would be more time lost. And it's just a curb strike, isn't it? That's
just snapped back on him. I think, you know, from what I've seen during testing and qualifying, the BMW is a very fast car, but it just looks edgy.
Yeah, we saw Dries off a few times.
Yeah.
That's, you know, uncharacteristic for all these guys. You know, so it's all well and good having a quick car. We saw Dries top the times at in the first qualifying session. But actually, if you haven't got a car that you can predict for the whole race, then you're in trouble, and things like that happen. You know, I'd rather have a car that's 2 or 3 tenths slow but predictable every lap than like a bullet but hard to drive.
Now, has Robin Frins been able to get away? Yes, he has. You can see the damage, but he's got to do a whole lap to bring that round. It looks like the suspension's damaged.
Yeah, I think that's more damage than it potentially first looked. It looked like that rear right was pointing in a different direction.
Yeah, so it's crabbing a little bit, isn't it? So he's going to do a very, very slow in-lap, and then, so there's time lost here, and then there's time lost in the pits.
As well.
Yeah, puncture, you're absolutely right.
In fact, that's likely to shred itself, that tyre.
Well, the team will be looking at this. Adam Hardy will be on the radio saying, just go slow, Robin, bring it back.
It doesn't look like he's going slow.
No, and he's lifting the wheel as all the weight transfers. This is going to be a wild ride on the way in, isn't it?
He just needs to keep his head here. You know, he's made an error. That was purely driver's error there, and he just needs to keep his head and not panic here, which is a very, very hard thing to do.
Yeah, I was just thinking it's easier said than done, isn't it? Because the adrenaline will be pumping. So, number 20 heading for the pit lane, and concerned faces, understandably. That car shown with Rene Rast and Sheldon van der Linde. Right, let's go on board with Robin Frins.
Robin, slow down, you've got no tyre on the right rear.
That's the voice of Adam Hardy saying slow down. You don't argue with Adam. Very tall chap, very successful engineer, was with the Porsche GT squad before going to the Hypercar project. He was with WRT in GT racing for a long time, back with the Belgian squad, and telling Robin Frins to slow down because he can see more than Robin will know.
Clearly the car is damaged, but he could make the car a lot worse if he tries to bring it in too quickly.
Very true. Very true. So, having said that BMW was under the radar and chipping its way up the order, scrap that, because it's in this game of snakes and ladders, slither down again. So right now, we have yellows at different parts of the racetrack, and we've got Robert Schwarzman leading by 7.8 seconds, but Antonio Fuoco has done a personal best sector 2 in 50 Ferraris. He tries to get back onto terms with the leaders. That great aerial shot looking down on the circuit, as you see 311, which is being driven at the moment by Jack Aitken, on the tail of Mirko Bortolotti. So this is for 12th and 13th places. Lamborghini versus Cadillac here.
Both Cadillacs quite far down the order, actually, after their start. They've been sort of my dark horses for the race all week, really. They've been performing excellently, but again, potentially just that weather has impacted where they are. But I think
you're right.
I'd still say let's watch them. They could still be coming back into the fight, and as long as you don't go a lap down, if there is a safety car, basically you get everything back. So just keep on the lead lap, and you're still in the hunt.
Into a slow zone here they come. We understand 51 is into the pits. It is. James Collado and Soft stand by. Will Stevens is in. Sebastian Buemi in and away, as you can see. And also Kamui Kobayashi comes in. So the pit lane getting busy once more. And no suggestion of anybody needing wets this time around, now that we have a bone-dry racetrack once again. There is number 12, which Will Stevens has done the bulk of the work in thus far. And blasts away.
Those freezing cold tyres just spinning away.
Blasts away really slowly.
Yes, quite. A lot of energy through it, not much movement. We've got quite a few people under investigation for slow zone infringements. I won't bore you with the list, but penalties might come. If they do, then I'll trot them all out. Away goes number 7 Toyota. That makes a bit more headway than other cars. So Robert Schwarzman, race leader, number 6. Mike is back into the pit lane. That was the one that Lotterer took over on the wrong tyres and had to pit, and is now serving another stop, and will be away shortly. So we've got the pit stop cycling through. More worried faces at BMW as they wait for Robin Frins.
Of course, the Toyota loses a little bit less time in the box because it's four-wheel drive and it's able to put the power down just that little bit better. Actually, the Caddy gets away. Well, it's got hot tyres, is it? No? Didn't change tyres.
Right, Cadillac on its way out of the pit lane into that slow zone, so it sort of semi-accelerates. It can go quicker, but has to respect the yellow flag and the slow zone.
Yeah, Peter, you're absolutely right there. Jack Aitken didn't change tyres, kept softs on board that he had, so that's why he got out of the pits that bit quicker.
That's also a tricky thing, because if you're the lollipop man, and you release the car and it's got cold tyres and there's a car coming down. So we've already seen these slow releases, and if the car can't go anywhere, then you end up getting in trouble.
Yeah, the gap you thought was there suddenly shrinks, doesn't it? It hasn't got the momentum to move, Wet's coming off the Alpine, which by the look of it went a long way on those. Mick Schumacher getting in, and he will be on board 36. The Lapierre Vazevière entry. Very arty shots of the cars getting away from their pit box in the Toyota versus Lamborghini fight here. The Toyota ahead as they come down towards the chicane. So that is Kobayashi ahead now, Bortolotti. Change between those two.
Alpine also the losers from the sprinkle of rain. Wrong strategy choice, and it's really dropped them right down as well, down to 12th position.
Yeah, Alpine, Cadillac, Porsche, there were quite a lot of losers, it felt like, within Toyota situation. Toyota as well, exactly. Right, you're on board then with Kobayashi. And he, in turn, trying to close on traffic up the road, which will include Romain Grosjean, who's taken over number 19 Lambo now. And Robert Schwarzman still leads the way. Right, Kobayashi to Bortolotti then. The gap between them, only 0.8 of a second at the last timing point. Bortolotti, who was a star for Lamborghini in GT racing, now very much an integral part of this hypercar program, hunting down the car ahead. Next pit stop, BMW receives Robin Frins. Right, how slow a lap was that? Just under 7 minutes.
That took a long time to get back. Must have felt like an eternity for the driver. You've got all that 7 minutes to go around the circuit, trying to stay out of trouble, trying to stay out of everyone's way, and thinking about what mistake you've just made. You got all that time to punish yourself and get back to the box.
And straight into the pit box, so more time lost. That's going to lose a lap, 2 laps. There's a replay of the impact. It's a hard hit, that. And just clipping the curb, car unsettled.
I'm surprised he's able to drive away from it, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a big impact. There's a lot of energy gone through that. Let's see how quickly they get it turned around. But, it does effectively put you out of the race. And then when you come back onto circuit, because, inevitably we do see cars always coming back out, as 3 drivers carrying on, knowing that you're nowhere near going to be in the race. It's quite a tricky situation to be in, and you kind of
your mentality changes, doesn't it?
It does. You're doing your best.
Survival then.
Exactly. You don't really want to be there.
So the repair work starts. Damage assessment. How quickly can they get it back out? Wiper on the Toyota as they get up past 31 BMW, which is currently a long way down in class, like 17th, with another of the 47 rookies this year, Darren Look, the British GT champion, at the wheel of it. But the battle continues then between Toyota and the Jota Porsche. So that's going to be Sebastian Buemi 5th, ahead of Phil Hansen in 6th as they come over the slight crest. And then down now towards the exit of the chicanes and onto Full-Time Corner itself. Let us have a quick listen to what's going on for Cadillac number 311, Jack Aitken at the wheel of it.
Good work, bud. Peugeot and Lauderer just in front of you are 4th position. Go get them, man.
So Jack Aitken being encouraged along and running in 16th place at the moment.
That's always nice to hear, though. Your engineer coming on, a little bit jovial, just telling you you're doing a great job and crack on. Always quite a nice thing to hear.
Peter Barron, the voice you were hearing, who used to own the Starworks team that did Le Mans 2012 to 2014, LMP2 winners a long time ago. This gap is coming down and down and down, isn't it, between Buemi and Hansen?
Okay, so your sector 1, 33.8, top Ferrari 33.7. So it's looking okay.
And a big
sector
big
2
move
for Ferrari, 80.9. So, and then the cars ahead, 81.6. Looks okay.
Big move by Hansen round the outside coming into Indianapolis. That was really brave stuff. And the Jota Porsches now just, again, coming back into the mix. I know they're not up fighting for the lead yet, but Phil Hansen, who's come up through the LMP2 ranks to Hypercar, now puts himself up into 5th place. That was a nice move nice execution.
Yeah, really coming to life there, actually. Looked really racy, did a really good professional job, and they both did, to be honest, because at this stage in the race, there's no point in fighting, there's no point in tripping over each other when you're in the position you're in. Unless it's for the race lead and someone catches you quickly, just let the guy go. So both of them did a good job of not losing too much time to everybody else.
Porsche number 6 of Andre Lotterer under investigation for a pit stop infringement, possibly. And drive-through penalties are now coming for slow zone dramas, one of which is for number 9, the Proton LMP2 entry, also for 94, which, sorry, 95 I should say, which is the United Autosports McLaren, and 94 Peugeot as well. So race control being kept busy, and you're on board with 93 Peugeot at the moment. Mikkel Jensen at the wheel of the car, and that is in 15th place right now. The lead gap, though, Robert Schwarzman to Michael Christensen, is stretching all the time. It's up to 17 seconds right now. This is the number 3 Cadillac that, in the hands of Sebastian Bourdais early on, was in that leading battle pack, but now Scott Dixon at the wheel, way down in 18th place.
Yeah, quite far down, and could be traffic, but pace isn't the quickest either, so got a lot of work to do to come back from there, but you know, with more showers due, anything can happen, and they'll still be pushing on. And actually, as we've said, Cadillacs have been pretty quick all week, so I think we'll see them challenging up through the order, whether they can get to this very sharp end, because the front guys are flying as well.
They lost out again because of the weather and the tyre choice, didn't they? They were sort of dealt a bad hand, if you like, by the conditions, or didn't read it as well as others. We're getting more personal improvements in sectors, Philip Hansen being one of them, Earl Bamber in his Cadillac being another, after that grid drop from the Spa incident that put him slightly out of position away from his qualifying pace. And a reprimand has been offered now to 88 Mustang, the Proton car of Giorgio Roda, Mikkel Pedersen and Dennis Olsen, for that technical infringement we were discussing a little while ago. You're on board currently then with Jack Aitken in 311, and he is getting closer and closer and closer to Mikkel Jensen's Peugeot.
I sense an attack on Mulsanne straight
yes,
coming.
Yes. And then ahead of the pair of them is then going to be Andre Lotterer. So Jack Aitken here could be within 2 or 3 laps a big winner with 2 places gained.
Let's have a look at the straight line speed. He's tucked up in the toe. Can he do much?
Not quite close enough here, as he's going to have to get a run out of the first chicane and potentially then pass down into the second.
Pretty good straight line speed from the Peugeot.
There's traffic up the road as well, which might just influence things.
Yeah, he might have to wait a little bit longer here, actually.
Blue light, blue flag shown to the drivers ahead, but you've got hypercars chasing you down. You've got Andre Lotterer, don't forget, up the road, as well as the GT machinery. Jensen goes by, Aitken goes by as well. And there's Lotterer, desperately trying to get away. He's cleared the Ferrari. That's the car that Larry ten Voorde started, and he's now Sally Jolic at the wheel of it, running 4th in LMGT3. So Peugeot goes one side, way wide off the road. Up the inside charges Jack Aitken, and he's getting closer and closer to the Peugeot. But the attack on Mulsanne, not as easy as we might have thought.
No, I think the Peugeot really does have a great top end. It's actually got a great bottom end out of the corners as well. You just see it pull away, and he breaks the toe in a sense.
So Jack Aitken chasing Mikkel Jensen. Let's listen in.
All right, let's go get the Peugeot, buddy. Let's go get him.
Interestingly, though, Jensen, 2 personal best sectors in the first 2 sectors of this lap. So he's trying to respond.
He's got the hurry up, hasn't he?
Yeah, has he ever? But Jack Aitken, net is closer. Getting a tow if you can, heading up towards Indianapolis now. They're not that far adrift of Lotterer, don't forget, in the Porsche number 6, delayed early on.
There may have to be a move on the brakes somewhere for Jack to get by.
It ain't going to come at Arnard, not quite close enough, but you can see as he is closing on Jensen. Jensen is closing on Lotterer. And in the Peugeot garage, they all look on with great interest, because you're going to get 3 cars together very shortly. Phil Hansen, by the way, has just done Jota Porsche 38's best lap of the race, a 3:30.5. He's quicker than anybody ahead of him.
Yeah, quickest guy in track at the minute, absolutely flying.
So the very quick Brit getting on with the job, as here you've got Mikkel Jensen, who is still just being able to fend off the Challenge from behind of Jack Aitken as they flick their way out of the Porsche curves down towards the Ford chicane, and Andre Lotterer being reeled in by the pair of them. Jensen should be on for a quick lap here as well. Comes into the chicane, sets the car up, goes left, goes right, goes left, then right again onto the pit straight, and look, Jack Aitken is right behind him. Now he can think about the move, Peter.
He can, but I just don't think he's got the bottom end. See that again, the Peugeot just pulls. So handling-wise, I think he's slightly quicker, but he just doesn't have the grunt to get by.
Confirmation, by the way, that 54 Ferrari, our first retirement of the race. So the marker of doom can be used, and it's a Ferrari out of LMGT3 that we say goodbye to after, 2 hours, 39 minutes. It's declared a retirement after that impact.
Very good.
Or not so very good
no.
for them.
Now, Jack Aitken to the Mulsanne straight. This time, I think we sense a move, don't we, Peter?
I think he's going to have to, if that Peugeot's got really good pace down the straight, he's going to have to use GT traffic, potentially.
Yeah, I think the same. He's either got to be right on his bumper as he comes out, but look, he's not closing in on him.
Just not happening for him, is it? But now he has a tentative look to one side.
As soon as he pulls out, he, of course, will lose the pace even more.
Yeah.
Such a frustrating thing as a driver when you know you've got the pace in the car and the car's handled well through the corners. You catch that car with that little bit extra top speed. It's just so frustrating to sit there. So,
yeah. You're right, there's enough traffic coming on different sections of the track where he might be able to outfox the Peugeot and just net by.
I think that's his best chance for sure.
So down they come towards the chicane, traffic up the road. Andre Lotterer in the Porsche trying to get away, or at least stabilise that gap. Mikkel Jensen last time through in the Peugeot, doing a lap at 3:31.5, which is a best lap. Now, Antonio Fuoco, absolute best middle sector time in number 50 Ferrari. So that car getting the hurry up. Further back, you can see here what's going on between Kamui Kobayashi and Romain Grosjean. So there are lots of battles all the way through the field right now. The one that's not taking any part for the moment is the BMW number 15 rather, that's fallen back in the queue, and 20 still sitting in the pits with its damage. Blue flags to the traffic as the Kobayashi-Grosjean fight comes towards us now.
Yeah, Fuoco doing a quick lap, quick middle, quick sector, and he's on pretty much the freshest set of tyres. Him and Schwartzman have got the freshest set of soft tyres on, so you'd expect them both to be quick at the minute.
Lambo's doing well to hang on to the back of the Toyota of Kobayashi.
Yeah, because they've not really sparkled in the earlier rounds at FIA WEC this year, but there is the Lamborghini. Let's listen to Kobayashi.
This lap, track limit, turn 7. Track limit, turn 7, first call.
Kobayashi gets the message, traffic in the way.
Tête Rouge, your standard places, really two places that you get pinged for it. Porsche curves and Tête Rouge are the main points that you have to be careful of.
Mick Tandy has brought number 4 Porsche in, so pit stop cycles through, and that therefore means that Hansen is going to be up to 4th, Buemi's going to be up to 5th, Collado up to 6th, Callum Ilott 7th, the man that did the damage with the number 12 Porsche earlier on in the week. Davide Rigon, sad to say, is going to be out of the race. Let's see if we can catch up on him with Louise.
J'espère que tout va bien.
Pit stop cycles through for 93 Peugeot, and that therefore takes out of that battle Mikkel Jensen. He therefore gives the place to the hard-charging Jack Aitken, who now concentrates his efforts on Andre Lotterer. There is Lotterer, number 6. 3:11 Jack Aitken comes out of the first chicane. Lotterer gets himself up past the Pure Racing Porsche in LMGT3, in which we've not really seen much of it, but the Lexus still leads the way. Esteban Masson, Lexus very good in the IMSA races, but we haven't really seen the best of them in WEC yet. Let's listen to Robert Schwarzman's radio for a moment.
Base is good, Porsche is lapping in 3:34. Generally all okay.
So a contented team, and with a 21.5 second advantage, you can understand why the team is contented, can't you? That's looking very solid right now.
Yeah, doing a great job. He's engineer telling him what's going on behind. He did say the Porsche behind was doing 334s, but as far as I can see, he's a little bit quicker than that. But 332 for Schwarzman on the last lap, 332 for Porsche. So his pace is good. Quickest guy in track, Phil Hansen at the minute, doing a great job in the 29th, but on relatively low fuel load. So
what tyres is he on?
He's on old.
Now the Peugeot here is about to go a lap down, isn't it? Because you've got the race leading Ferrari, Robert Schwarzman, getting closer and closer and closer all the time, and falling off the lead lap, never a good thing. But the AF Corsa car, the yellow Ferrari then, storming its way through the order, and now putting a lap on the traffic. And bearing in mind this car started 12th on the grid, it's had a really good run this early part of the race, as others were taking the limelight in the first few laps. The team with Robert Kubica doing the driving for the first couple of stints, just getting on with the job, going up the order, and now that has done the job of putting a lap on the Peugeot. Now, what about Porsche? 99, let's get the Proton Porsche out of the way first of all. Very, very badly delayed after its travails early on. It is in 29th place, it's 3 laps down. Behind is number 5, that's the car that's in 2nd place overall. Michael Christensen at the wheel, and 21.6 seconds, the margin he's got to try and make up against the race-leading car. And he needs to get through the traffic pretty swiftly as well. Number 25 under investigation, and the driver of 25 that has incurred the wrath of officialdom is Matthias Kaiser for not respecting blue flags in the LMP2 entry from Algarve Pro Racing, the former V2V racer and Le Mans Cup racer. So he's under investigation as you look there at Michael Christensen, and behind them Fuoco has done another absolute best middle sector. He is lapping Fuoco faster than the 2 leading cars, so it is Ferrari, Porsche, Ferrari in the top 3, but the 3rd placed car, the second of the Ferraris, is lapping quicker and narrowing the margin. It's still 38.7 seconds first to 3rd, but the pace at which Fuoco is going suggests that it will be a lot narrower than that by the time we get to the next round of pit stops.
So we get the chance now to see the comparison between top end, between the Alpine and Earl Bamber in his Cadillac.
That's right, Earl Bamber then chasing after Paul-Luc Chatin, and these two are 10th and 11th.
Again, just not quite able to... He's starting to pull up now slightly, but yeah, it's very difficult to overtake on the straights for the caddies.
It is, isn't it? And the Alpines, again, looking strong. They've had good pace over the course of the weekend. And Paul-Luc Chatin then running, as I say, in 10th place. The other car is 17th, Mick Schumacher at the wheel. And we are hearing rain in just over 20 minutes is due. Look out the window, and it's still breezy, but it's bright enough. Looking a bit sunny, but there's more rain on its way, we understand, to tease the teams, which have now done up front at least 45 laps of the race.
Just what you want to hear as you're getting settled into the race, or you're a driver and you're probably cycling through now in the second stints or so, and I think you're doing a great job. I think it's all going quite nicely, and you hear probably engineers are going to be telling people on the radio that rain is coming and be expecting of it, but we're still seeing a lot of cars on soft compound slicks, so actually hopefully that'll help them out when they're out there.
Jack Aitken, by the way, personal best lap of the race last time through, and such is the pace that he is lapping also quicker than the leaders. I know he's got a lot of traffic to get through, but just to illustrate the point, the Cadillacs have got good pace.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's one thing having good pace, but if you catch a car in front and can't get past it, then you're a bit you're stuck. So sometimes it's better to have a better race car than the actual pace in the car. So let's see how it pans out. But at the moment, no point in having a great fast car when you get to the car in front and you can't do anything with it.
It's something that we've seen quite a bit of in GT-style racing, isn't it? Where the balance performance there means that you can catch up, but once you get onto the tail of a car with comparable performance, it's really hard to overtake.
Yeah, it's the most frustrating thing, and actually sometimes it leads to frustration, which then leads to a dive up the inside, which then leads to a problem and a crash. So you've just got to sometimes be patient, and what you can do, especially in this race, as we said before, is use that traffic, the slower traffic.
Now, battle on track, battle into the pit lane, as in comes Paul-Loup Chatin, and right on his tail is Earl Bamber.
So Earl Bamber's got to hope that their stop is slightly quicker and he's able to just nip by.
Earl Bamber, of course, a winner of the event, 2015, 2017, his Porsche days, and there the Cadillac Lollipop awaits, as with a nice clean pit lane in which you can arc to the team, unlike the Alpine that has to dodge around a GT car. So that's going to help the Cadillac straight away.
Could make the difference, yes.
So a clean pit stop, and again, that's something that the teams need to factor in, isn't it? I know you have a strategy, but if there's a car in the next pit box, do you risk it, or do you tell your guy to stay out for another lap? Well, on this instance, Alpine brought him in, but it'll have cost them just a second or two, and that could be critical.
Tyres ready there, but I'm not sure they're going to put them on, are they? I think driver stays in, just fuel. Let's see.
But we've been hearing all the weekend about trying to triple, maybe even quadruple stint the tyres, because if you lose 20 seconds on an out lap trying to warm them up, better to keep them on the car, and away goes the Cadillac, and that's just gained a place because the Alpine is nowhere in sight. So away goes Earl Bamber, and they've jumped the Alpine on the pits.
So they didn't take tyres, he stayed on the tyres he was on.
That's right.
And they both had to pit because they were both low on energy, so there was no option. They both had to pit.
So you couldn't have kept him out for another lap with the pit lane being busy.
So that little bit of manoeuvring they had to do on the Alpine in the pits was just enough. It's a couple of seconds, and that's what he's lost by.
Well, we thought at the time it might be significant. There's the evidence after the pit stop. Cadillac jumps ahead then. So you've now got Earl Bamber up ahead of Paul-Loup Chatin, and you're on board with the Kiwi right now, former Porsche factory racer, made that switch to Cadillac. And after his involvement in that big accident at Spa, in a sense, he's got a bit of a point to prove, but we know how good Earl Bamber is. He's won in single-seaters, he's won here twice, he's won the Nürburgring 24 hours, he's won Carrera Cup Asia. You know, he's a very, very accomplished driver. New Zealand, for a tiny little place, has generated a lot of very good drivers over the years.
Absolutely, absolutely. The next teammate of mine, Shane van Gisbergen, really flying in NASCAR at the moment. So, you know, he's been an excellent another Kiwi who's done all sorts of driving.
No, you're absolutely right. We have a new fastest lap of the race. Antonio Fuoco, after 46 laps last time through, has done a fastest lap now, a 3:49.2, taking that mantle away from Nicholas Nielsen. So Antonio Fuoco, quickest lap, 3:29.208, 46 laps into the race.
Interestingly, they've chosen to put soft tyres on the car 50. His teammate in the 51 car has medium tyres on. So 51 is down in 5th place. James Calado at the wheel. Just not able to lap quite as quickly.
No, Fuoco, though, we know, is an absolute weapon. I mean, he has always been quick. Single-seaters, GT cars, hypercars. Very, very quick driver indeed. You kind of like the blue touch paper when you put him in the car, don't you? And then you stand well back.
Yeah, and the soft tyres, from what we can see on our data, don't seem to drop off much. They seem to be hanging on in there. So what you might see traditionally is the medium tyre being slightly slower, but better over a stint. But we're not actually seeing that at the minute. We're seeing that the soft tyre seems to be a better option.
It could be that they're going to 3-stint the medium tyre and 2-stint the soft, or it could be that they'll try and 3-stint the soft, but it just, that final stint might not be as good.
There's an incident being looked at between Mikkel Jensen and Hiroshi Hamaguchi at Marshall's Post 35. We've not seen it, but Mikkel Jensen, who dropped back into 19th after his last pit stop, being looked at, as also is Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the McLaren. Antonio Fuoco then, quickest man on the circuit, as the United Autosports McLaren comes towards us. Battle on here in LMP2 as well, which is being led at the moment by number 10, Ryan Cullen, from Clement Novalak. And Novalak, I think, ready to make a move here as the two of them go side by side. Ryan Cullen in the white car, Clement Novalak in the lemon and lime colours, the green and yellow. Nose in front as they come down towards the chicane. Clement Novalak, former British Formula 3 champion, goes through. Good pass, that.
Yep, pretty standard stuff. Get a good run, get the toe, and you had the inside line for first chicane at Mulsanne. So good clean stuff, good racing, standard stuff. He can now get his head down, don't worry about the car behind, and keep pushing on.
So LMP2, which we knew was going to be competitive, we just had another lead change to prove the point, and then not that far behind them is Ritomo Meata trying to play catch-up, but he's getting there. Bijoy Garg is fourth for United Autosports, and Nico Varoni in 183, another AF Corsa car, is running in fifth place. That's the one that he shares with Ben Barnicoat and Francois Perrodo. Ben Barnicoat coming a nice welcome return to European racing, doing like Jack Hawksworth much of his racing, and very successfully so in the States these days. But Ben Barnicoat, much underrated driver, good chap as well, good character. So there's Ryan Cullen, the Irishman, who's fallen now to second in LMP2, and Clement Novalak, who is yet another of the rookies that we've got here this year, 47 of them in total, into the lead of the class. Into the pits, though, comes Antonio Fuoco. So he's had, if you like, that fastest lap as his last hurrah. Let's see what they do, because there are no tyres ready. This looks like it's just for fuel, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. No tyres there whatsoever. Fuel in, cleaner windscreen, and driver staying in too. So that should be a relatively quick stop.
Yeah, it should, shouldn't it? So Antonio Fuoco, who has thus far done the fastest lap of the race, ready to rejoin. There in the pit lane is the so-called Spike the Dragon entry of PJ, Philip Jeffrey Hyatt, the car known as Spike the Dragon, given its colour scheme. And that has just been brought into the pit lane by Patron, by PJ Hyatt himself, the team owner. That car lost a wheel, didn't it, in free practice 2, but has recovered from that little setback. Away goes Fuoco. And with the warmth in the tyres, was able to make good traction away from the pit box there.
And his in-lap was pretty impressive, so he's clearly in good form.
When they make a pit stop, it shows all the best sectors, not on that lap, but of that stint. So it tricks you into thinking that the in-lap was one that was an absolute blistering one, but it shows you the best lap of the stint, and that was for the fastest lap of the race. So, sorry to be a pedant.
Good to know, good to know. So I'm sure it was a good lap anyway.
Quite, yes. Now there, having mentioned it, is the leading Lexus from LMGT3, Esteban Masson, bringing the car in for Acodis ASP, Jérôme Policon's team. He's done a good job in that. The Lexus, another car, another brand, good to have on the grid, and also into the pit lane from second in LMGT3, Ahmad Al-Hafi, which means we can't be far off getting Valentino Rossi into the car.
'51 and 50 running together again.
Is that Fuoco getting past Callum Milot there? He's just come back out. He's just come out ahead of him, hasn't he, in the pits?
I think that's the case, yeah. So,
yeah.
Which means that he's pretty much almost got a full pit stop ahead of the 51, because he's not pitted yet, right? James Calado hasn't pitted yet.
No, you're right. He owes us a pit stop. But
so he's just running just behind. So he's gaining time on his teammate.
Yeah, Calado lost out, didn't he, with 2 rogue pit stops, if you like, for tyres. Yeah. One's to go onto the wrong and one's to go back onto the right. That's where some of the time was hemorrhaged earlier on.
At the moment, we're not really seeing any of those cars who did make those choices and fall back. We're not really seeing them making inroads to the guys at the front, which, you're right, kind of means the guys at the front are just pounding around doing a great job. And, you know, we know there's weather coming, so I can't see it staying like that. But at the minute, no one's making inroads to their lead.
So 50 Ferrari then, which has still got Fuoco at the wheel. Under attack from Callum Ilott, as to a very sunny Indianapolis corner they come. And let's see whether Callum Ilott can clear on the outlap that Ferrari. Not yet is the answer. Callum Ilott having taken over from Will Stevens. Will was interviewed at the Porsche press conference yesterday, bearing in mind they've had to spend like 3 days rebuilding the car. Will described it as a slight setback. Master of the understatement. Callum Ilott now, though, trying to thank the team, if you like, by doing a great job and get the car up one further place. So you're looking at the fight going on here for 5th and 6th.
Another team that's done a good job rebuilding a car is the BMW number 23. Back on track after hitting the wall. Robin Freins at the wheel. He had a bit of an off at the Ford chicane. Smacked the wall, had to come in. They lost, I think, about 28 minutes in the pits, but they've got the car back on track. Position 59.
Yeah, they're currently 8 laps down, so definitely tricky to make that back up. But if you've got the ARC car, you've got the BMW, you know, you're gonna get back out there and make sure it finishes the race, because as you and I both know, just to finish this race is an achievement. Might not feel like that as a driver when you're banging around 8 laps down, but we've got to get that car back out and make sure it finishes the race.
Back on board with Fuoco. He's not really pulling away from Callum Ilott, is he? He's hanging on to him. But a good chance to see the straight line speed in a minute down the Mulsanne straight. There's Ilott, he's all over the back of the ice. He was held up by the McLaren. Right, so what's going to happen here?
I don't think he's close enough. That'll be stateless car. I don't think anyone got held up there in terms of.
And a Toyota right behind as well. Yeah. So we got Kobayashi just closing in at the rear.
Just a whisker after 3 hours into the Le Mans 24 hours. It is just after 7 o'clock Central European summertime, and battles continue to rage all the way up and down the order in the now 61 car field here at Le Mans. Pit stop for the number 19 Iron Lynx Lamborghini. Romain Grosjean at the wheel of that car. That is just ahead of the number 63 car of Mirko Bortolotti. Both Lamborghinis still running. Only one car out of the action so far. Vista AF Corsa's 54 Ferrari. Thomas Floor started the car and crashed it at the Dunlop chicane. And that car is now out of action. But we're looking here at the battle between Antonio Fuoco in the 50 Ferrari, Callum Ilott in a Hertz Team Jota car that was rebuilt from a bare shell over the last 24 hours, and the number 7 Toyota, which just gets a little squeeze, and that is Kamui Kobayashi, man who dropped the car in the gravel during Hyperpole, and that car was forced to start from the tail of the hypercar field, so 23rd position on the grid, but they've had a really strong start to the race. Toyota split their strategy. Number 18 was brought in for wet weather tyres in the first rain. So too was the number 51 Ferrari. And they're now out of sequence with a lot of their rivals. So we're already seeing that there are different strategies, different fuel stop schedules now for the race. And with much more rain forecast throughout the remaining 23 hours, then that 21 hours, that is likely to continue. Next rain expected around 7:10. So in about 9 or 10 minutes, and that could get very interesting. Delighted to have in the booth Rob Bell still, and friend of the show, Mark Webber. Good day, how are you?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well. I'm happy I'm not out there, I must say, with this dodgy weather rolling through. I saw the that curtain of rain just didn't it go through start finish down to Ten Rouge, and then they had another little bubble down at Mulsanne Hairpin, and all the rest was dry. So that was the first opportunity we saw everyone making key decisions. But like I say, well, it sounds like we're going to have another little window very, very soon for more stress in the cockpit.
Battle for 5th place raging between Ferrari, Hertz Team Jota with the Porsche 963 and the Toyota. 3 of 9 manufacturers in the field. Mark Webber, former Porsche factory driver, Le Mans winner, world champion. Mate, do you seriously not just feel it would be good to go and do a couple of maybe dry stints in these cars?
No. Also, I didn't win Le Mans, mate. I was close, but I didn't win it, so correction there. But ultimately, no. I was very happy with the cars I drove. They were awesome. But I think now, my age, mate, my eyes are going. I'm in denial. I need to get my eyes done. I need to get in the gym and lose a bit of mud. So I'm enjoying watching this with a glass of red, to be honest, mate. And here, representing Porsche.
Well, Porsche have got 6 cars in the hunt. Here's one.
Okay, mate, some rain expected in 7 minutes. We'll hit Dunlop chicane first. I will keep you updated. Shouldn't be too bad.
Oh, as the engineer says.
Shouldn't be too bad, yeah. Well, when you're out on track, whatever is forecast and whatever might arrive always seems to be slightly different, I'm sure, as a driver. We were talking about this a little bit earlier on. When it rained in Imola, Toyota went straight for wets, bang, immediately. They went very conservative. Ferrari stayed out and then said, okay, now we have to go for wets. And Collado was begging to stay on the slicks, but they wouldn't let him. At some stage, you have to trust the drivers. Let's see what Toyota say.
Okay, Kamui, box this lap, pit confirm.
The race leader is in, Robert Schwartzman, in the yellow 83 Ferrari. Kamui Kobayashi is due to be coming in, but he'll have picked up 2 places by then. Trying to put a move in on Antonio Fuoco in the Ferrari. Toyota started a long way back after causing a red flag in Hyperpole and losing all its times, but there's no doubting the speed. They are still the benchmark, Mark Webber, really.
They look solid. Obviously, they, as you say, made a very conservative call on the first rain shower, putting the wets on, which is, again, you know, the right safe call, be on the right tyre in many ways. It's always easy to look like a bit of a hero and end up with the car on the fence on a slick tyre early in the race, which is never an ideal situation. But it's interesting they're going to have to make a stop here very soon, which would be nice if you could stretch your stop. If there's a tyre situation in play in 7 or 8 minutes, it's nice to sync that with a fuel opportunity as well. But obviously, when you run out of fuel, of course, you've got to come in and take some tyres.
Callum Islet in that Hertz Team Jota car also moving up a spot. Toyota's Kamui Kobayashi now up to 5th position, as we heard, heading for the pit lane. And the story around that number 12 car is quite remarkable. For those of you who are just joining us, the car was crashed in the evening free practice after qualifying. Callum Islet had done enough to get the car into Hyperpole and then put it in the barriers, or the team had, and then it was discovered that the chassis was cracked, and so it has been built up, not from a car that had already been raced, but from an absolutely bare tub. No electrics, no fuel tank, no wiring, no lines, no oil, no fuel, nothing. So an astonishing job, which normally in the workshop, Jota record would take them 3 full weeks. They've done it in 36 hours. The mechanics didn't go home for 2.5 days. Mark, you know how much the mechanics struggle during the race because they never leave the garage. Starting that tired is going to have a big effect on them, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, Martin. I think, you know, when you prepare a car with the meticulous preparation that's needed, when you have to rush something like that, it's easy for things to slip through the net. It could be, I mean, there's obviously thousands and thousands of components on these cars, and if something does not get done correctly, or there's a procedural issue, they're now going to, obviously it's running well now, but obviously in the race there's something that could come back and bite them because of that incident. So hopefully it doesn't, but as a driver you're nervous with a limited preparation like that, tired mechanics. Also when they're fixing the car they're also tired, so not optimal, but you know, Le Mans, it throws up different things, and there's a big chance they can still get a great result.
Of course, a Le Mans fairy story would be that car then goes on to win, wouldn't it? I mean, we can't predict that stuff. Just saw a lead change. Number 8 Toyota, again, out of sync. The 83 Ferrari stayed on slicks. Number 8 Toyota changed onto wets, then had to change back. So they're at a different stage in their strategy, but also the 8 car was on hot tyres, 83 fresh out of the pits, and with no tyre warmers, that's an issue. The cars are much slower on that first lap out on track because there's no grip.
Absolutely. It's you know, I'm not paid by Michelin. I'm a big Michelin fan, but actually no tyre blankets in terms of just got to listen to a bit of radio here now.
see number 8 Toyota, 4% fuel left. The 83 has just stopped. So the Toyota, this is its in lap, and that's where those strategies, it's almost a full pit stop or fuel cycle out of sync with the 83 car. So brief leader, it'll bring it into the pit lane. I know you've got a lot of guests here in the Porsche Centre here at Le Mans. An awful lot of Porsche fans in the grandstands. You know, Porsche looking for their 20th outright win. Great story as well from the start. Roger Penske, I thought that was his first ever Le Mans pole. Turns out that a Roger Penske-driven car was on pole in 1963. What was your dad doing? Well, what he wasn't doing was looking after a young son called Mark.
That's right, mate. Yeah, 73 I arrived, but I mean, Roger Penske, what a legend of our sport. Yeah, we've got some radio from the car 83 now, Ferrari coming across.
Okay, Robert, if you can move, brake balance 1% forward, brake balance 1% forward.
That was mind-blowing information. But in terms of, yeah, Roger, it's incredible, mate, what he's done for the sport. Porsche as well, and he's, importantly, race leader in 2. Martin, it's going to be interesting to see driver change, I believe, too. We're going to put Brendan in, are they?
I would think so, yeah, it's about that time. 51 Ferrari also stopped for wets. 12 Hertz Team Jota stopped for wets on the same lap. So too did the number 6 Porsche. So they're all coming in. They're all on their last dregs of fuel. And you've got to look at that, 1% of energy remaining. That's very, very finely judged. I wonder if he managed to creep out an extra lap to try and get that car as far as possible before stopping. Like you say, as close to making a decision maybe on the weather and the tyres. But hasn't started raining yet. 51 is in as well. That car also stopped for wet weather tyres. The only Ferrari to do so. This time they split their strategy, unlike Imola where they could have, but committed to a slick tyre, and then as the rain increased, realised their error. Got a lot more room to make mistakes in this race. You know, standard race is 6 hours. You've got a lot more opportunity to make mistakes, but you've also got a lot of opportunity to try and change those smiles, you know, the right way up again by working on the strategy throughout the race.
Sure, and it's a long lap, which can also give you headaches, but give you time to make a decision. As you say, somewhere like Imola, that's virtually a go-kart track for these type of cars, so it's very short and furious. But as you say, you can be a little bit more. You've got to make it's always great to hit a home run if you can on every decision, but you won't get them all right. But you have time to recover. Actually, there's a few small strategic faux pas, or a little bit more conservative approach in terms of keeping the car safe and making sure you obviously keep circulating, particularly this early. You don't use it. You've got to make some wild strategy calls with an hour to go. You're all in for the win, why not? But at this stage of the race, you still want to be circulating competitively.
20 hours, stay where you are,
yeah.
4 hours to win the race.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Mark Webber, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure you're going to have a great weekend, and who knows, there may be a Porsche on the top of the podium again here in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Meanwhile, 83 AF Corsa Ferrari cycles back to the top of the pile, and the 51 car giving us the perfect indication of just how much grip there is not on stone-cold tyres. Now, the rain is expected to arrive again at either end of the track in the Porsche curves and in the pit area. But there at the Dunlop chicane, first thing you do is come out of the pits and you're into a hard braking area at the top of the hill. So, Rob Bell, it's always a bit of a focus for the driver, especially if you've just got in.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've highlighted that corner. There's a lot of action gone on all week there. I think if I was a paying customer, you know, bought tickets to come and watch this race, I'd be standing there for the race. There's going to be a lot of incident. I think at the moment everyone's being relatively conservative, but later in the race, when you know you're on for the win, you're going to come out there and you're going to have to attack. You're going to have to. So we're going to see some pretty sideways stuff, I think.
Okay, so you have brand new soft tire, some rain expected in few minutes coming from the Porsche. So that's why we switched to brand new soft tire.
All right, coming from the Porsche curbs rather than coming from or coming off a Porsche. So what that message tells us is we jumped too quickly onto wets and put James in the car, and that was not a great choice. You're now on soft tyres, so they will stay hotter if the track gets damp, and that tells us Ferrari are going to try and gamble on keeping at least that car out if the rain is light. And David Addison, those that jumped for wets in the first little shower definitely lost out.
They did in the long term, yes, because it was never fully wet all the way around. So they had a couple of laps or so where it was wet enough at given parts to have an advantage, but the pendulum very quickly swung back to those on slick. So, yeah, lessons learned. What was interesting was some of those that got it wrong persevered, like the Lotterer Porsche, for example, for a good few laps too many in my book.
Yeah, that was a bit of almost like a stubborn move. They've made the call, so let's stick with it. But it clearly wasn't working for them. So we saw them eventually come in, but they were losing sort of 8 seconds a lap in that meantime. So 8 seconds a lap for 4 or 5 laps too long actually is put them really on the back foot.
Yeah, 1 lap too long, 8 seconds can come and go. You can lose 3 or 4 seconds easily in traffic without thinking about it in a lap, but 8 seconds is a big margin. Of course, the lap here is 3 laps of Spa, basically, so you have to put that into consideration. If you decide not to box this lap, it's quite a long time before you get the next opportunity.
And you think Spa's a long lap in itself. You say these are 3 of them.
Well, it is when you run it, David, but then you ran the long lap here as well yesterday. Now then,
I did.
Alessandro Pierguidi back, or in the wheel of the 51 car for the first time, because it was not Alessandro Pierguidi unusually who started it. It was Antonio Giovinazzi, then James Calado. So they're actually cycling through their driver rotor backwards rather than forwards. And here's an interesting little story. Still the Lamborghinis 10th and 11th. Now, the number 63 car has raced 3 times this season. The number 19 car with the white band up the nose, thank you for that. Their IMSA team have not raced that car in Europe. So this is remarkably good. We saw how fast both Alpines were, 35 and 36, and both Lamborghinis also, really, I think, this is performance that we have not seen from the car at any stage so far this season.
Although in terms of track position, some of that was down to the right tyre choice, so they gained places at the expense of others, not necessarily on lap times, but I agree, they are looking a lot more racy than they were during qualifying or free practice. So now they are looking as though, if reliability is on their side, they're going to be there or thereabouts come the end, if.
We are expecting rain level 2 in Sector 1 within the next 10 minutes.
Well, compare and contrast, Lamborghini, the Iron Lynx Lamborghini team, is new to the top class. They've got a brand new car. Peugeot are in their 3rd season in the top class with a heavily revised car, but with knowledge of how to make it go quickly here at Le Mans. And Lamborghini are definitely showing Peugeot a clean pair of heels. The top Peugeot is currently in 16th place. The slower of the Lamborghinis is 11th, and keep it off the grass. Alessandro Pierguidi playing fast and loose. And we will be joined shortly in the back of the booth, I imagine, by Louise Beckett, because she's just reported in my ears that it's raining in the pit lane. And, of course, she has that allergy to rain. Not water. 19 and 63. Have they just swapped places? No, Roman Grosjean was ahead of Mirko Bortolotti.
So track marshals putting waterproofs on as well. So obviously the word's got round and everyone's gearing up for what's coming.
Yeah, well, but rain's reported at the Ford chicane.
Yeah, for drivers and for fans alike, it was declared a wet track at the start of the race. That means fans are allowed to put on their waterproofs and teams are allowed to use wet weather tyres. The significance of that, the race director declaring it a wet track even though it wasn't raining, is that until it is declared a wet track, you may not use wet weather tyres. It's an odd rule, not quite sure why that ever came into being, but it is a rule that nobody's seen fit to rescind. Meanwhile, Jack Aitken in 311, the IMSA Whelen Cadillac, is piling the pressure on the pole-sitting Porsche, the number 6 from Porsche Penske Motorsport.
And Jack Aitken has been really impressive in this stint. All the Cadillacs lost out with the tyre choice when the rain came. They're rebuilding in the dry, but again, they've had good pace all weekend, and if the reliability is there, they're at the moment making the Porsches not look pedestrian necessarily, but they're giving them a hard task.
Well, what we saw not in qualifying so much, but in the cars that made it through into Hyperpole, was the potential, the speed potential, absolute speed potential. And we, pretty much the only brands we didn't see in were Lamborghini, Peugeot and Isotta. BMW got a car in, Porsche got a car in, actually two, but the number 12 didn't run because it was broken. Ferrari got their cars in. Who else? Toyota got a car in on pace. It didn't last because it lost all its times at the end of qualifying for bringing out the red flags. And Alpine got a car in there. And although not all of the team cars were in there, if one's that quick, then you can rest assured that the others have the potential to be there as well. So Cadillac has the potential to be an absolute front runner, potentially a winner. So does Porsche, so potentially does Alpine, so does Toyota and so on. And what it will come down to is how well you operate the car for the next 20, 21 hours and a bit of good fortune.
Michael, expect light shower and sun after that. Light shower and then sunny.
So look for the rainbow.
Michael Christensen has been falling away, though, from the leading Ferrari throughout this stint. It was close when they rejoined, but the gap has stretched and stretched and stretched. So in terms of pure pace at the moment, it's Ferrari looking a lot stronger than Porsche as far as those two are concerned.
In fact, on the last lap alone, Robert Schwartzman in that yellow Ferrari pulled out 2.4 seconds on the Porsche. Now, again, it's so easily lost that time in traffic. Really hard to keep your lap speed up. Rob Bell probably needs no reminding of that, Rob. Whether you're in the fastest cars in LMP2 or in the GTs, keeping the pace up with other cars whistling around you, or when you're trying to go by other cars, is absolutely what this race is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about being aware, I used to think every time you come out of one of the corners, you look in your mirror, halfway down the straight, you look in your mirror, and just as you're tipping into the corner, you look in the mirror as well, because sometimes hypercars come at GT cars so quickly. It's about just making sure there's no time loss in that transaction between one car passing you and you getting on your way. You've got to be aware, and actually there is a case for sometimes as a slower car, GT car, it's your body language. So if you're just about to turn into the Porsche curves, what's your body language saying? You're giving the message to the hypercar, come left or come right, or don't come by. And you can actually shut the door quite early, but in the grand scheme of things, you'll lose less time.
Peugeot 93, Mikkel Jensen, is being given a drive-through penalty for contact with number 95, the United Autosports Hamaguchi Pinot Sato McLaren. So, 16th at the moment is Mikkel Jensen in 93, but he will drop down when he serves this drive-through penalty.
Just saw Bijoy Garg in the number 22 United Autosports LMP2 car in the pit lane from 4th in class. Right behind him, Nico Varoni in 183, the AF Corsa Pro-Am class leader, as we ride again with Jack Aitken. These onboard cameras give you such a great view of life from these cars. The battle for 13th place. Andre Lotterer in front. Don't forget, for the full season entries, points only go down to 10th place at Le Mans, as with everywhere else. You just get double bubble, so there will be 50 points on offer for the race winner, down to 2 for 10.
Small lock-up there by Lotterer going into Mulsanne corner. That's allowed Jack Aitken to actually get the pass done. So that was actually out of, made that small error out the previous corner, just locked up, went wide.
And having cleared him, instantly pulls away. Yeah. So Lotterer has looked, dare one say it, a bit ordinary in this stint, and he has a bit of a moment there, does Jack Aitken. He comes across the traffic, darts past on the inside, but the Cadillac is away and gone. Lotterer, lights ablaze, tries to flash his way then past the back marker, and if he can, bring the gap down again under braking.
Yeah, you could see in Jack Aitken's mirror Lotterer monstering his way through past the GT car. Interesting to see these, particularly the hypercars. The mirror looks like a road car mirror. In the GTs, it is. In the hypercars, it's all electronic. So you get those little sort of markers showing you who's coming where. Green if he's dropping away, red if he's closing, and all the GT3 cars have that rear-facing system as well, in addition to their normal mirrors. But you can see all these little lights flashing here as we ride with Jack Aitken. bottom right-hand corner of his screen, warning of cars. There's tyres in the middle of the road at the second chicane, so somebody has skated straight on and clumped a tyre stack.
Although, interestingly, no yellow flag has been heralded for it. So now, I thought for a moment Jack Aitken's windscreen was starting to look damp. I think it's just the rubbish that's been thrown onto it thus far, but we are aware that there are spots of rain coming at various places, but it's not amounting to anything yet. And again, to tease the teams, the sun's come out.
Yeah, it's showing on the heli telecam, but nothing actually on Jack's screen. Of course, we saw early on in the race, both Alpine and somebody else had number 2 caddy had a very mucky screen.
Yeah.
These, like a single-seater driver's helmet, will have tear-offs. They'll have about a dozen tear-off screens on top of the glass screen. So that helps with getting rid of the oil and stuff, but also helps to stop damage from stones and rubber and so on getting thrown up on the cars.
Awesome job, buddy. Well done. Next one is your sister, Earl Bamber. About 4 seconds ahead. Go get him, bud. Nicely done. Keep digging.
I think we need a Peter Barron podcast, though. We just thought him on his own. He's great value, and you can understand why the drivers want somebody like that.
Just point out, for those who are new to the sport, Earl Bamber is not literally Jack Aitken's sister. They are not related in any way.
As far as we know.
No,
yes.
no. Yes.
The sister car is what was the message. But now we're going to go for a full course yellow, we understand. Full course yellow comes. Wow. So that's our first full course yellow of the race. And for why is that?
Well, now that's a very good question, because for something like a tyre stack, you would have a slow zone to guard the area where it's being applied. Full course yellow.
Did we hear where the tyre stack had been hit? Was it
second chicane?
Second chicane. And we've been through that and not seen it.
We've just seen that, yeah, exactly. Yeah. There was nothing that I could see there.
Okay.
Seems a bit odd.
It does seem a little odd. All right, well, let's take a look at what we can see on the screen, apart from an under 36 Alpine. Our race leader is the AT3 Ferrari, currently driven by Robert Schwartzman. He is 28.7 seconds ahead of the number 5 Porsche of Michael Christiansen. Antonio Fuoco is third in the 50 Ferrari. In the pits, from 4th place, is Nick Tandy in the number 4 Porsche Penske. Oliver Rasmussen from Hertz Team Jota follows him in. Puncture left front of the number 34 into Europol car from 3rd place. Clement Novalak pits. Now again, I don't see that you necessarily have a full course yellow for that, but maybe it's got lost a wheel.
Yeah, so the wheel needs retrieving. That's why the full course yellow is there. We are now back to green, so the wheel has been retrieved.
Now, he was not on an out lap, so something else has happened. It might have been his 2nd lap out of the pit lane. We don't have that data, but that's most unusual to actually shed a tyre when it's not on your out lap. So this is Kubic Machovsky, Vladislav Lomko and Clement Novalak's car.
There's no nut there, is there? So it looks like
machined its
nuts
way
come
off
at some point. Yeah.
Peugeot 94 going very slowly. That's not full race pace, as you can see from the Porsche. What is he? He's fresh out of the pits, so that is as race pace as he's got in a 94 car, because that will be on brand new stone cold tyres.
That car of Clement Novalak that you've just seen on 3 wheels did put itself into the lead of LMP2 a little while ago, so it's a significant problem, that, for one of the quick cars in class.
And don't forget, into Europol, the tiny team run out of Poland, were last year's LMP2 winners.
Yes, indeed.
So they have plenty to defend. There is the 311. And the number 2 caddy that Jack Aitken is being told to chase, his sister Earl Bamber, that's the one with the blue nose and the black tail. So Whelen Engineering, a very big name in lights, emergency lights, runway lights, emergency vehicles. That's where Whelen comes from, but of course they've been big motorsport sponsors for many years in NASCAR Cup Feeder Series, and also in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Series. So pit stop for Nick Tandy in number 4, pit stop for the Hertz Team Jota Porsche of Oliver Rasmussen as well, the 38 car. 4th and 6th place cars coming in under full course yellow. Now, while they were stationary, everybody else was, at least temporarily, only doing 80 kilometers an hour, so that's going to benefit them. They effectively spent much less time going slowly than would have been the case if it were green. They obviously didn't spend any less time in the pit lane, but nobody else was going at full race pace for at least a minute or so of that. So that really makes a big difference.
We had a look a moment ago on board with Andre Lotterer, who is really struggling. He can't stay with Jack Aitken, and bearing in mind that was the car that started on pole position, thanks to Kevin Astra's lap, it's only 14th. I know it lost time when it was on the wrong tyres, and there's a slow LMP2 car there coming on to Mulsanne, and that is...
Is that the Crowd Strike number 45 car?
Or the Cool Racing entry that's already had one accident with 54 Ferrari. It's a similar livery on both, isn't it?
Messing around, no wasting any time. That's a really sharp bit of work, both by Penske Porsche Motorsport or Porsche Penske Motorsport and Hertz Team Jota. That shows real savvy on the pit wall. They were close enough to the pit entrance. Box now, get them in, get fuel in, get gone. Never a bad idea to have fuel in the car, and they lost very little in terms of track position. I don't think, actually, that they might even have lost a spot. We'll have to see how close Brendan Hartley's 8 Toyota is to the big back of Nick Tandy. And don't forget, if they haven't changed tyres as well, Rob Bell, then they will have come out on hot tyres and lost nothing in terms of warm-up either. So some really heads-up thinking. If you're coming through the Porsche curves, it goes full course yellow in the pits. Let's go.
Absolutely. It can make the difference. You know, we've seen cars make the wrong call on tyres earlier, potentially with the wet dries, and they are, you know, a good element back. Some of them lost sort of 2 or 3 minutes, and that can be the same in that scenario. If you pit in that scenario, you're gaining that time compared to everybody else. So that, I think, we're seeing the cars are so close now that actually we're going to see the race is going to be won by decisions in the pits rather than on circuit. And just going back to Andre Lotterer, struggling a little bit. He's on a...
Oh, 22's looped around. Who's in United's car? And that is Paula... no, that's Nolan Siegel.
Yeah, just into the car, Nolan Siegel. I think it might be his second lap, might be his first flying lap. Certainly no more than a second. So fresh into the 22 after a great stint from Pete Jogard, right up at the sharp end throughout all of that. So that
there was contact, yeah.
33.
He hit the 33, who may have been checking up to avoid the back of the 47 car.
That's Rennie Bender in the 33 car, and he's lost places as well, so he's gone off too.
Yeah. So that was 3 cars on 3 different laps in LMP2, all coming together. White flag shows that somebody has just left the pit lane in hypercar, and that will be 93 Peugeot of Mikkel Jensen, I think, that's in front of us. So the white flag display being shown on board all the cars as well. That was which of the 2 Alpines? This is the battle for 13. 6 Andre Lotterer ahead of Paul-Luc Chatin in 35. And Oliver Rasmussen, 38 Hertz Team Jota, and Nick Tandy did lose a lot of track positions, actually. Tandy went from 4th to 11th, and Rasmussen went from 6th to 15th. So they made their stops. They may have needed to make their stops, but they were close enough to the pit lane to make stops under that full course yellow, but didn't save them from being dropped down the order. On board with Fuoco in the number 50 Ferrari. It is Ferrari 1-2, Porsche's number 5 car in 3rd, but Toyota Gazoo Racing up to 4th and 5th. Let's hear what the Ferrari team have got to say.
We are thinking to change only right-hand side. Sounds good to you? Only right-hand side with new soft.
Why new soft?
We can't mix the medium on the right with the soft on the left now. So either we do right-hand side on the soft and you carry on, or we put Miguel with a full set of medium.
Oh, wait a second, mate, because I get lost. Which tires will they cut now?
You are running soft tires, mate. You are running soft tires.
What do you think you're telling?
I think we should give you 2 more soft on the right-hand side, and you stay in the car.
Bless him.
Right,
He's been out there. He's been out there so long on that set of soft tyres. He's forgotten which ones he's on.
Yeah. Well, hang on. What have I got on now? Why can't I have mediums? Oh, I've got softs on. Yeah.
So I'll let. I've got this app in front of me with the tyre info. So they did put a set of 4 softs on, and he did 12 laps on them. Came in, continued on that same set, and he's done 10 laps on them so far. So they're questioning, should we bring you in, put on just the right-hand side or left-hand side of soft, new, or just one side of the car? And it's a tough call. I mean, nobody's done that yet, from what I can see, but Fuoco was completely confused by it all. Didn't even know that he was on a soft or medium.
And Anthony Davidson, that was a multifaceted question. So either we give you left sides only softs and you stay in, or we go for 4 mediums and we put Miguel Molina in. Ooh, who was that?
Full course yellow coming.
Okay, full course yellow coming, and there it is. Right, so that means that the Alpine and the Porsche are likely to be close enough to dive into the pits should they need to. This is where we need the energy graphic to see who is relatively close to a pit stop. 38 has just stopped. 4 has just stopped.
Well, Fuoco, he's done 10 laps, so yeah, we know they're talking about coming in anyway. So if this full course yellow is going to stay long enough, they could win big time from this. Well, because the number 51 Ferrari's only done 8 laps. Yep. Kamui Kobayashi's done 7 laps, and Oliver Rasmussen in car 38 has only just stopped. So, yeah, this could really fall their way, and that's probably why we're looking into the Ferrari pits now.
So there's 2 things that could help them here. First of all, if they get into the pits now and the full course yellow is more than another 30 seconds or something, there are going to be people just chuntering around do 80 Ks. But also, when they come out of the pit lane, then they're not immediately much slower than everybody else. That would, you know, depending on how long the full course yellow continues, 51% of energy in both cars, so they don't need to stop.
So we don't know what the incident is. My guess is it's a general clean and tidy up at this stage before we get into darkness. We've just seen 2 of the LMP2 cars off. There may well be a lot of gravel.
Yeah, did you see the mess on the inside of I think you spotted it too through.
There was advertising hoarding down, and the bollards were not as in their prescribed position from the World Bollard Association.
Here's another look at that incident in the Ford chicane.
But that was further on, wasn't it? It's De La Pesse. So I think it will be a general tidy up, whilst there are still good lines of sight in full daylight for the marshals to do so.
Don't forget, last full course yellow, we saw a couple of cars come in for half a tank of fuel. That's why they're not fully filled up. There's the DKR Engineering LMP2 car. And don't forget as well, while we got a chance, we'll tell you about our full access program, which has been filmed at the moment and should be available on the WEC YouTube channel in about 10 days after the race, showing you a lot of what happens behind the scenes. The previous full access programs are all still available to see on YouTube. Here we go, battle for supremacy, 50 versus 5. This is the number 5 Porsche of Michael Christensen, all over the back of Antonio Fuoco. Is Fuoco due to pit now, or will it be in a lap or 2? Whatever, Christensen is all over the back of him. So either Fuoco takes left sides only and carries on for another stint, or they're going to put in Miguel Molina with a full set of brand new medium tyres.
Yeah, so he was just at the wrong part of the track, unfortunately. Just going through Mulsanne corner when the green flag flew again. So they'll just take that car now probably to the point where it is on getting closer to 1% energy. I think they would have capitalised on the full course yellow if they were further around the track, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. It falls your way or it doesn't, and it fell for the number 4 Porsche and the 38 Jota Porsche. They were close enough to take advantage, but not everybody gets the opportunity.
Lotterer, by the way, who's behind... Oh, he was. This is the overtake. So this was Fuoco getting ahead of Lotterer. So Lotterer has been on this set of tyres for a long time, and they were used as well to boot when you put them on. So they'd probably done just a morning warm-up where a scrub set of tyres had gone on, and so he did, first of all, 7 laps on them, came in, continued on, he did another full stint of 12, came in, has gone back out there, and he's on 7 laps on them again. So he's running those much further. Basically, they're much older than Fuoco's set of softs at this stage.
And that's why Fuoco, when he jumped him away from the green flag at the end of the full course yellow, has been able to just build that advantage immediately because he's got more grip.
You can see it, can't you? This, what you're looking at here, is purely tyre age.
Well, and not just age, but compound as well. Don't forget, Fuoco is on soft, and the Porsche is on...
No, he's on soft as well.
Oh, he's on soft as well.
It's literally just tyre age. 2 cars that we saw fight it out at the beginning of the race, nose to tail. Neither of them could drop the other. And now you're looking at one pulling away from the other easily. It's just because of that tyre age. It does make that much difference.
How fortunes change. Look where the pole-sitting car is. In 13th place, the number 6 Porsche. And the car that started alongside the number 3 Cadillac down in 17th. That's how the mixed-up strategies have affected the race.
With the 2 full course yellow, we gain almost 30 seconds to the leader. We gain almost 30 seconds to the leader.
That's the kind of message you want to hear. And it does help you sometimes where you are on the circuit when you come into the full course yellow. If you're barreling down the straight and you get a full course yellow and you have to slow down and go to 80 kph, you lose so much more compared to if you're already in a corner going very slowly anyway.
Yeah, or on a slower part of the track. So, for instance, yeah, coming through the 4 chicanes or whatever, you'll lose much less because you'd be going slow there anyway, compared to what you lose at the beginning of the Mulsanne or coming out of Terre Rouge, that sort of thing. So, who's due the pits? 50 Ferrari is Antonio Fuoco. One more lap after this, potentially. Race leader 83, Robert Schwartzman. Again, talked about unsung heroes in the number 51 car. Antonio Giovinazzi definitely is a bit of an unsung hero. Robert Schwartzman in the 83 car. Everybody knows Robert Kubica. Not too many people maybe might have been familiar with Ye Yifei, except that he drove last year, of course, for Hertz Team Jota in their cars, but now he's definitely making a name for himself in the Ferrari, and the number 12 car goes off and comes back on.
Yeah, it's Callum Ilott just going in a bit deep into that second chicane.
Drive-through penalty for car number 25 for not respecting the blue flags. That's the Algarve Pro car of Matthias Kaiser. And we also have that incident we saw in slow-mo between the LMP2 cars. That will be under investigation. I sense somebody will be picking up a penalty for that.
You mentioned the 25 car. That was a car we saw stop very early in the race, the Algarve Pro car. We didn't see why. I can tell you that was contact with the wall. So there was left side damage of that car, which required front and rear bodywork and a replacement toe link, which they did in 6 minutes, wow, which is pretty remarkable. While we're watching the AO by TF Spike the Dragon LMP2 car on pit lane, another guest has popped in to see us. And it's a name and a company that maybe won't be familiar to a lot of our listeners and viewers, but there's a good reason behind it. Tom Wagner from Knighthead Capital. Tom, maybe your name and maybe Knighthead's name isn't that familiar, but the entity with which you're involved most certainly is, and that is, of course, Hertz Team Jota. What a story so far this week.
An absolutely unbelievable story. As usual, Jota doing a fantastic job representing everyone associated with the team, and I think, you know, particularly as it relates to the 12 car, having an unfortunate mishap and then the team scrambling to literally build a car from the chassis up in 30 hours, which normally takes 3 weeks. It was a Herculean task, and I think really representative of what it means to be a race team.
So here is the number 12 car. This is that moment just a few moments ago for Callum Ilott in that very same car. Did you have a moment of doubt that they might make it?
No, only because everyone around us was so confident. I mean, I'm the novice here, as you can tell by my accent, but additionally, only having been involved in racing for a couple of seasons now, I wouldn't have had the slightest idea whether or not that was a possible feat. I think it was a virtually impossible one that they made happen.
Now, tell us a little bit about the deal that's made this happen. By some distance, you are flag carriers for this new era of hypercar racing in the World Endurance Championship, particularly because this is not a factory team.
Right.
And it carries on the side of it, I believe, 3 brands with which your company's involved.
That's right.
The very famous brand of Hertz.
Yes.
The less famous globally, but significant in terms of those who are automotively aware brand of Singer, and the globally known brand of Tom Brady.
That's right. I think it's, all of our sport investing that we do, we bring Tom Brady in as a partner. He's obviously got great experience, but what's lesser known is his really strong commitment to developing exceptional culture within an organization. Having learned from the very best in the New England Patriots in a period of time when their performance was really unparalleled, and then applying that to other sports organizations. Obviously, Hertz is a natural fit for racing. They were long associated with it. We brought that back in after gaining control of the company. And then beyond that, I think it's fantastic exposure for Hertz and brand building.
Well, we'll come back to you in a moment, Tom. Let's have a listen to what's going on with the number 83 Ferrari.
Okay, Robert, 2 laps to go. 2 laps to go. Can we do another stint on these tires? Question.
It depends how slow we are.
Your pace at the moment is very good. Your pace at the moment is very good.
Okay, then how is the car 50 catching so quick?
At the moment he's 20 seconds behind. They gained 5 seconds in the full course yellow.
If the pace is good, I can continue. The tires are feeling quite okay.
Copy. We go for another stint then.
All right, that's interesting. Robert Schwartzman will continue for another stint on those tyres, and actually only 1 car in the entire field, that's the second place Porsche, went quicker on that last lap, but Michael Christensen just pitted that car. For the Ferrari, by the way, just a quick catch-up. Antonio Fuoco out, Miguel Molina in, 4 new mediums on the car, exactly as we heard on the radio, Anthony.
Yeah, Schwartzman's only on his second stint with that tyre, so they can easily get into a third stint. It won't be pretty, but it can definitely do it, and at some stage, you'll have to start triple stinting tyres, maybe even quadruple in the night.
We'll come back to you, Tom Wagner. After having just heard from Anthony Davis, an ex-Jota driver, of course, he knows all about the little team that could. Tell me a little bit about what attracted you to Jota with David Clark and with Sam Higdon.
I mean, the success in Le Mans over a long period of time in the equally weighted LMP2 class was something that we thought demonstrated their clear capabilities. And our view was that with some stronger financial backing, some capital, some investment, we could make a push to be competitive at the highest level of the sport. And what attracted us to endurance racing was the fact that we've seen a significant rise in the interest in motorsports globally, and we hadn't seen as much of a increased level of interest in WEC, and we thought that was right to change. And I still believe very, very strongly that that's the case. When you look at motorsport, or sport in general, what attracts people are 2 things. You have the sense of tribalism, it's a team that you can root for, and uncertainty of outcome. And there's nothing in sport with greater uncertainty and outcome than a 24-hour race where you don't have the slightest idea who's going to win until the very last moment. It is absolutely the most unbelievable event in sports. I really don't think there's a second that comes close.
You led on the debut with the team at Le Mans last year in pretty ropey conditions. Yeah. That was drama.
And I was getting interviewed as we led, and the moment the words left my mouth, we had our unfortunate mishaps. But yes, it was a wonderful experience.
I'll ask this question. You happy with the journey so far?
Well, we were so happy with the experience and being a customer that we ended up investing in Jota. And I don't think there's a stronger way to represent your commitment to something than actually put your money behind it. And so it's not just us bringing brands that can enhance those brands and provide the much needed publicity. We all know the mantra of racing and or winning on Sunday and selling on Monday. I think that's very true across not just automotive, but all many brands that can be associated with auto, either directly or indirectly. But Jota's excellence and what they demonstrated to us in their professionalism that first year made it clear that this was something that we could really help grow. And that was the intent behind making the investment.
We just saw another big brand appearing out on track. Now, whatever sphere of sport you come from, Valentino Rossi, like Tom Brady, is one of those household names. I mean, this man will add a third to your gate. Do you think a name like him has that kind of recognition, for instance, when we get to Texas from his MotoGP successes?
I think absolutely it does. I think Jenson Button, you know, a little-known English driver that's in our 38 car, attracts, you know, a great following. You know, just seeing the number of hats and T-shirts that have been sold with
but we are by far not done. We've barely got to the 4-hour mark, and there is more weather undoubtedly going to affect this race. And as you say, you know, this is a overtime Hail Mary pass winning situation so many times that somebody just comes down with it, and it's boom, everything changes in the last hour, in the last minutes of this race.
Or in overtime, as we saw in Spa, right? It can be an outcome that nobody expects, and that's what makes it so compelling to follow. It's really a neat thing.
Let's hear from the 83 team.
Car 8 coming up behind you, will be for position.
Yeah, and car 8 will be coming fully lit with the afterburners on and with hot tyres. Robert Schwartzman also with hot tyres, did not change, so he won't be so much at a deficit. And in fact, he's already started to just nudge a little bit away from Brendan Hartley in number 8 and Kamui Kobayashi a further 12 seconds back in number 7. So Toyota second and third, but Anthony Davidson, they are closing in on the Ferrari at the moment.
Yeah, Toyota are fast, but Brendan Hartley, who's just coming up to the end of that set of tyres, third stint, he got in after Sebastian Buemi. So this is only Brendan's first stint he's coming to the end of. He's done 11 laps, but he got in without changing, because Buemi was in the car for so long and had the wets on, and they put the brand new set of soft tyres on. They did a driver change without changing the tyres. Yeah. So he's continued those on. He'll be in next lap.
Pachito Lopez back in the number 7 Toyota garage, where we have not seen him all season. He's been leading the charge in Toyota's other arm, their GT3 Lexus crew, but with the injury to Mike Conway late last week that ruled him out from Le Mans, Pachito, the obvious replacement. He drove that number 7 car last year, and he's back in it here at Le Mans, trying to help the other 2 drivers now with championship points.
Tom, you talked about the decision to invest in this program, and now in the team, you're clearly happy with this kind of trajectory. You've been an observer to what we've seen from our perspective, which is bigger and better events, bigger and better grid, more and more fans turning their attention towards it from all sorts of other aspects of the sport. Right. Is that a fair assumption that that's what you're seeing from the assessment?
100%. And I think, you know, it's driven by a couple of things. One, the global physical presence of the race, you know, in different countries around the world, that's critically important. But I think the most important element of pushing WEC into the forefront is all of these manufacturers who are operating at the highest level of the sport. That is, without question, what drives it. Heard rumors of more coming in, and I think that's wonderful. You know, unlike other race series that are resistant to new entrants, I think what makes WEC great is it's wide open, and it wants the competition, it welcomes it, it's better for the fans.
Absolutely right. Talk a little bit about the Hertz aspect of this. It's a very famous brand indeed, a globally renowned brand that your company was a big part in. Effectively,
all of these manufacturers who are operating at the highest level of the sport. That is, without question, what drives it. Heard rumors of more coming in, and I think that's wonderful. You know, unlike other race series that are resistant to new entrants, I think what makes WEC great is it's wide open, and it wants to have a consumer-facing brand and expect to deliver your products without having any kind of branding. And I think racing is an excellent opportunity to do that. It brings a level of excitement. It shows that, you know, you're committed to providing something. But maybe more than anything else in the context of modern marketing is that it provides an opportunity to create really interesting content.
That's a replay of, here's another spin, I'm afraid, for the 23 car, but a troubled race, I'm afraid, the Ben Keating car. Final question from me. we don't ask you to make announcements with a convenience here, but it seems to me there is a trajectory. More and more exciting stuff to come?
Absolutely.
Soon?
Very.
Excellent. Tom Wagner, thank you so much. Good luck for the rest of the race.
Thank you. Good luck, guys. Bye-bye.
You too, very much the Victor Kiam approach there. They like the team so much, they bought into it, which is exactly what we like to hear. And of course, this, the F word of endurance racing, Ferrari, is bringing eyes to this sport that otherwise maybe would never have discovered it. Ferrari with other Formula One teams gathering a whole new host of fans thanks to Drive to Survive over the last 4 seasons, and having Ferrari making so much of a fuss about their endurance racing, and they really make a fuss about their endurance racing equally as much as their Formula One. Anthony Davidson, that's really driving the audience. It's bringing eyes to this sport purely because of Ferrari, who otherwise would just be watching the Grand Prix.
Racing Porsches as well. I mean, you could almost make a movie out of that, couldn't you?
Yeah, well, that's that too. I mean, Porsche got a rich history here, Ferrari too, but it is bringing new fans. 50 car moves up a spot, so that is Miguel Molina on his fresh rubber going ahead of Matt Campbell. How old are the tyres on the 5 Penske car? I'm sure they're at least a stint older. Miguel's only been in the car 3 laps or so, so
yeah, he's
got
put a
fresh
used
rubber, and
he's
he'll
put
be on them for a long while, so he'll end up with the pain eventually.
He's put on a scrubbed set of the soft tyre.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Matt Campbell.
Matt Campbell, yeah.
Yeah. So they're going to triple those tyres. There's Ben Keating, fresh out of his stop-go penalty, and straight through the chicane, on board with Matt Campbell. And this is the whole thing about endurance racing. It is snakes and ladders, it's ebb and flow, it's every other cliche that we can think of. But when you can't just throw tyres at the problem like they can afford to do in Formula One, or like they're allowed to do in Formula One, here it's about maintaining your pace as the tyre wear goes away and as the grip goes away. It's about utilising what you've got in the best manner, and that's why the brains on the pit wall are as important as the synapses behind the steering wheel. It's matching. Look at the performance here. You know, there's the pit stop for both of them, and they have been absolutely pegged on pace, these 2 cars, as they've moved up and down the order. And again, Ben Keating in trouble at Indianapolis. He is having an absolute nightmare.
Not enough rear support.
Copy. Your rear anti-roll bar is at maximum.
Not enough rear support, but he's got maximum rear anti-roll bar. So what he's saying is the car is rolling over on its tyre too much and oversteering. So what are they going to do about that?
Well, I take it that how I read into that message was that, yeah, maximum must mean the most stiff that the roll bar can go. So go softer on the rear roll bar, you get more rear grip, you'll change the mechanical balance of the car. We often talk about aerodynamic balance of the car, but you can also have mechanical balance, and the anti-roll bars are one of those things. If he was talking about you're already at maximum softness, well, I'm afraid you're just going to have to live with it.
See, in my head, I think if it's starting to roll, you stiffen up the sway bar or the anti-roll bar to stop it rolling and picking up the inside wheel, but you're saying exactly the opposite. You want to soften it off, and what you want is firm damping, soft springing to try and keep the tyre in contact with the road.
You'd be right if you were talking about roll of the car, the rolls, the stability
He's saying
of the car.
not enough support from the rear.
He means the tyre.
Okay,
he means
got
the
you.
sliding of the tyre. Racing driver speak. Basically, I decode it for you, and the fans listening in and watching wherever you are. That's the racing driver speak for. I basically don't have enough rear grip. And when I'm turning, the rear is sliding. But we saw that, didn't we, with the Porsches? It's in qualifying with that epic lap from Kevin Estre.
And of course, don't forget, with the spec hybrid system in the LMDH cars, that's the Porsches, particularly here, that's the BMWs. The weight is where it is. It's designed to only have hybrid acting at the rear, so the weight is at the rear. The Le Mans hypercars, which is a very slightly different rule spec in the overall hypercar category, they're allowed to have their drive at the front. So they've got their electric MGU, the motor generator unit, which provides drive to the front when you want it and harvests when you don't. So that moves that bit of extra weight to the front, whereas the Porsche here, its MGU is also at the back. So it's a little bit more tail heavy, if not, quote, tail happy.
It's a good point, actually. All cars in hypercar category is 1,030 kilograms. That's the window that you have to be in. They've all got 670 horsepower. That's that window of operation within that balance of performance that we often talk about as the fresh set of tyres there. The mediums go on to the number 6, once race leader, Penske Porsche, and championship leaders as well, don't forget. So yeah, I wonder how that does differ in terms of your weight distribution between the LMH cars, so the Ferraris, the Peugeots, the Toyotas, and the Isotta Fraschini.
And the Lamborghini.
No, because the Lambos are LMDH car.
Yeah, of course it is, yes.
So yeah, the common platform, the Porsche, that's an LMDH, as well as the Lamborghini,
BMW,
basically everybody else.
Yes.
Everybody else.
Yeah.
So I wonder how that differs because of that rear motor, the electric motor being at the rear. Does your weight distribution change? Is that equal between all the cars? Well, that bit I don't know.
You struggle to see how it can be, because let's take a look. The Ferrari's got whatever the motor weighs between the front wheels. The Porsche there has got it between the back wheels. So that amount of weight is already at the back.
And it's around 20 kilos.
The fuel cell is behind the driver and in front of the engine in both cars. So you can't move, you can't have like your fuel tank in the bonnet, if you know what I mean. So you can't move that amount of weight, which again is going to be sort of 80, 90 kilos when it's full, down to nearly nothing when it's nothing. So it's battery storage units and so on, you can creep forward, but again, it's that 20 kilo mass difference that you can put at the front in your four-wheel drive car like the Ferrari, and you have to have at the back in your rear-wheel drive car like the LMDH car. So at minimum, there's a 20 kilo weight penalty over your back axle.
Interestingly as well, one thing most people forget in this game where you share drivers. Oh, that wasn't a good sign, was it? That was not a good sign at all from the Mustang
engineer,
garage.
I'm afraid she was saying, okay, that was the universal hand signal across the road for game over, left front corner. So is that a TCA? That shouldn't be anything non-fixable. Maybe she was just saying, okay, that's broken, let's get it out. Now, it's either a steering arm, in which case they'll need to change the steering rack, or a track control arm.
Look at the energy, so much energy going through the front that it's actually affecting the rear wing moving around as well.
Yeah. So why are they speaking German? It's an American car. It is an American car, but Proton is a German team. So Christian Ried's Proton team running these Mustangs. So there's Christian in the right-hand side. So the number one mechanic with her back to us, clearly, she's the one now who's going to coordinate, rebuild, repair, get this thing back out on track as quickly as possible.
And the well-built car at the back is Michael Ried. It's Christian's brother, who's the technical director at Proton Competition. He'll be keeping a weather eye on this. Wouldn't be remotely surprised to see him get involved if this is a longer repair.
What a tough day Proton are having. Their two GT cars are last in GT. They are 21st and 22nd.
2 of 3.
Yes, 2 of 3. Okay, so one of the regular cars, the 77 you just seen, that was the car that was in the lead early on, and the 44 car, which is the third car, the yellow and black Dark Horse car. And of course the Proton 99 Hybrid had that problem with the door handle, the door refusing to shut, and that's why Christian Ried was stomping off in a state of high dudgeon, because it's a problem they already had in Spa, and it was happening again. And that, as a team boss, is not something you want. Drive-through penalty for the number 33 car now.
Expecting blue flags there.
Yeah,
for
that's the
33.
DKR engineering car again. Lawrence Hurt, Rennie Binder and Alexander Maxwell, who I don't think's driven it yet, are having a torrid time.
It was Rennie Binder that was under investigation for that. I do